We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. Today, my guest is Ellen Tart Jensen, who is possibly and probably the most influential teacher of iridology at this time. And she had the good fortune to marry Art Jensen, who is the son of Bernard Jensen, who was the foremost teacher of iridology and other important nature cure ideas in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And Ellen Tart Jensen, it's a pleasure having you on Here's to Your Health.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. No, you have accomplished a lot, and you have added to the literature of iridology. And for my listeners today, tell us, what is iridology?
Well, Josh, the iridology is the study of the iris of the eye, and that's the colored part of the eye that surrounds the pupil. And that part of the iris, what we're looking for is color and structure. We're looking to analyze whether the person has certain color flecks in the eyes, certain structure in the eyes. Are the fibers really tight? Are they very loose? And how those areas connect to different parts of the body. The iris of the eye, each iris has 28,000 nerve endings, as well as it's hooked up to the optic nerve, which has over 1 million nerve endings that connect to all parts of the body. So in a way, like reflexology of the feet, we can detect areas of the feet that are connected to different parts of the body. The eyes have different markings structurally and color-wise that we learn to read and find out what's going on in different areas of the body. Much of the iris shows us genetic signs. It tells us the areas that we were born with. If we are born with certain strengths or certain deficiencies in certain areas, we can use iridology to help with prevention.
I see. And iridology, now, you studied this, you bumped into it through Bernard Jensen. You read the works of Bernard Jensen?
Yes, I studied Bernard Jensen's work back in the 70s, and then I met him in the 80s, and then I ended up working with him and actually living at the Hidden Valley Health Ranch in Escondido for many years and studying with him. I became his assistant, his protege. I photographed hundreds of eyes for him, analyzed thousands of eyes with him, traveled and lectured with him, and ended up marrying his son.
Aha! I see. Well, actually, I've been to the ranch. I'm happy to say I was at the ranch. I took the 11-day course in iridology in 1986, and it really was such a beautiful place. And Bernard Jensen really was a gifted teacher. Jensen was a great teacher, a great nature cure practitioner, and a great teacher of this subject. And I remember that the place was packed with people studying with Jensen, and it was quite lovely. When a patient comes to you and you do an iris diagnosis, you do iridology for them, what is it? What can you see in the eye, and what can you see? What does iridology not do?
Okay.
Let me ask that broad question.
Well, before Bernard Jensen passed away, he asked me to promise that I would always carry on the science and practice of iridology, and I have loved it so much. I promised him that I always would. And when my clients come to see me, iridologists analyze the eyes in this country. We don't say we diagnose, we analyze or we assess. And I photograph the eyes and I put them up on a big monitor, very large, so I can see the areas of the iris and where the deficiencies are and where the strengths are. we don't diagnose diseases as such. For example, we can't say you have Parkinson's,
Right.
but we can look in the area of the nervous system. There's a lovely part of the iris called the collarette that is made up of sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve avenues. And we can look in the iris to see if there's certain nerve deficiencies. We can also look in the iris, for example, if a person's presenting with symptoms of cold hands and feet, poor circulation, falling hair, trouble sleeping, all kinds of skin problems, I look in the area of the thyroid, and we call that the thyroid reaction field. It's the area that we see the thyroid reacting in the iris of the eye. And if the fibers are really separated in that area, then we know that there was a genetic deficiency there at birth. And that's an area that we want to feed with a good nutrition. And the thyroid needs a lot of iodine, so we recommend seaweeds from the cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean for that area. So the iris doesn't diagnose diseases, but we're able to see strengths and deficiencies of various organs, glands, and structures of the body.
Now, iridology obviously would be controversial. Some MDs would claim that it has no merit. But one thing I noticed that seems to have been picked up by mainstream medicine, very likely as a result of iridology studies, is the whole idea of the cholesterol ring around the eye.
Absolutely.
And would you please explain to the listening audience what the cholesterol ring is and how mainstream medicine sees it?
Yes. The cholesterol ring is actually not in the iris at all. It's in the cornea. And that's when lipids and fats start infiltrating the cornea, and it forms a whitish to opaque ring around the outer part of the iris. And when we see that ring, and that has been recognized in ophthalmology as the corneal arcus or corneal opacity. And when they see that ring, they have people to go and be checked for high cholesterol.
Right.
And indeed, we have found when people have that ring, they tend to have high blood serum cholesterol.
So I don't want to put words in your mouth. So in other words, it's kind of indicative, that cholesterol ring is indicative of circulatory issues?
Yes.
Speaking broadly?
Yes, it has a lot to do with circulation, because when there are high blood serum fats, the circulation is not nearly as good as it should be.
And I really think that iridology really deserves credit for the fact that that particular diagnostic tool has been picked up by mainstream. I really do think that, Jensen and all the people who came before Jensen really deserve credit for that.
Yes.
On iridology, for example, let's do something controversial. So iridology does not see cancer. Is that correct?
That's correct.
It does not. Jensen, I believe, says iridology does not see cancer.
Right.
Right. All right.
We don't see disease as such, but we see where that a particular organ, gland, or tissue has a deficiency in that area. So the lungs could have a separation of fibers. There was an amazing study done by the Russians in the 90s, and they took 300 participants and they photographed their eyes, and some of the eyes had really tightly woven fibers all the way to really loosely woven fibers. And they divided them into 5 categories, all the way from enfeebled to very strong. And what they did was they followed that group of people for 3 years. And they found how well they did in their jobs, the types of jobs that they were doing. And they found that the people that had really, really loose, deficient iris fibers were missing work at a much higher rate than those with really tight fibers. And so we do have research study behind iridology. The other thing is the border of the pupil is live nerve tissue. It's one place where we can actually see part of the brain, and it connects to the brain and the optic nerve. And studies have shown that when there's an injury to the spine, the pupil will flatten out in the corresponding region. For example, the top of the pupil represents cervical, the middle of the pupil thoracic, and the lower part of the pupil lumbar. And indeed, when paramedics pick up a person that's had an accident, they look directly into the pupils to see if the pupils have expanded, if they've become elliptical, because usually that is caused by an effect of fluid pressure in the spinal cord.
I see.
And so when a person is under shock, the pupils will become really, really huge. And so the pupils are hooked up directly to the central nervous system, which is the spinal cord in the spine.
For those of you just tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network, our guest is Ellen Tart Jensen, who is really the most influential iridologist working today. Ellen, you mentioned the idea of fibers in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, when I look in the iris of the eye, some people might have very tightly woven fibers like maybe a silk blouse, and others might have more of a burlap kind of look in the eye. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes. We have many layers of the iris. The outer layer is called the anterior border layer, where the pigment is located. And then just underneath the pigment are fibers. And those fibers form what we call stroma, which is the bulk of the iris, the fiber structure of the iris. And iridologists around the world, after questioning thousands of people with really tightly woven fibers in that area, find that they tend to have much more stamina and strength, that they can go longer, they can abuse themselves even more than a person with really loose fibers. And those people with really tight fibers also tend to have very, very sensitive nervous systems. Now, people with very loose fibers tend to, in their genetic line, have more things like hemorrhoids, hernias, varicose veins, swaybacks, things like that. Now, not every person with loose fibers is presenting that in the moment. Mm-hmm. But as iridologists, we can question them about their heredity. We can talk with them about how they're living their lives and help them to prevent things like that. We wouldn't want a person with a really loose weave to stand on their feet, perhaps working, styling hair all day, or working as construction workers, because their strength is not as enduring as a person with more tight fibers.
And does the eye change? If let's say you're working with a client who's a cigarette smoker, not taking care of themselves, and then you do a presentation for them, and they suddenly understand, oh, there's a better way. There's a much better way I can live. And they follow your suggestions. And if we look at that patient again, look at the eye in a year or two, do we see improvement? What changes can you realistically see?
Okay. I have been working with the International Iridology Practitioners Association for 25 years. I was the president for 7 years. We have a research department. And so we're very, very careful when we say certain things about the iris.
Right.
Up to what we've researched so far, the iris doesn't make nearly as much change as they used to think it did.
Uh-huh.
And that's because in the old days, in the 1800s, when a lot of the earlier iridologists were writing about iridology, they used very low magnification. And so they weren't able to see for sure if there were changes. Mm-hmm. However, now we know that the border of the pupil makes large changes. And for example, if a person is very stressed and perhaps on a drug such as marijuana, the pupil is very large for a long period of time, which presses those fibers out. So it looks like there are big openings in the fibers. So after you work with that person's nervous system, their adrenal glands, they get really healthy, the pupil comes back into balance, and those fibers come right back in, and they're straight and strong again.
So let me ask a question specifically on the use of cannabis sativa. So in other words, from your perspective, impartial perspective, looking at a person who uses marijuana, cannabis, your sense of it is that it's not a healthy thing. Is that it?
I can't say that for sure because I haven't had enough work with it to know for sure. But I have seen people that use it for long periods of time to have large pupils.
And your analysis of the large pupil is that's not desirable health-wise. Is that it?
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you.
Exactly.
That's
Now, whether
that's an
it's
insight that
used-
you have that others might not have.
It's
right?
used medicinally for short periods of time. I don't have a controversy with that
Right.
so far. But I have seen people that have used it chronically for long periods of time, and the pupils become very, very large. And there is an effect, whether you're using a caffeine, an upper or a downer, on the adrenal glands. And so, cocaine is an upper, and it's going to speed people up. And those pupils might become very, very tight and very, very small. But whatever you're doing to your nervous system and your adrenal glands, whether it's even from burning the candle at both ends or pushing yourself really hard, you're abusing your adrenal glands. And that upsets the balance of the pupil, which then disturbs the fiber structure of the iris. And so in the old days, they weren't aware of looking at what's really causing the change. And now we're really looking at irises to see what exactly might be causing change. Now, change we have absolutely photographed is that pigment spots can appear in the iris. And I photographed a lady that brought me her iris pictures from 20 years before, photographed by my father-in-law, Dr. Bernard Jensen. And then I photographed her eyes, and a big, large brown pigment had appeared in the thyroid area of the iris. And so I gave her 100 questions to answer because I wanted to know more about what she was doing that would have caused that pigment to appear. In the old days, they thought it was drugs. And now we're not so
Drug medications.
Yes.
That's right. That used to say that.
They thought that they were called drug spots.
Right.
And in the old days, they were called psora itch spots. Well, now we know that psora itch spot meant that there was a mite in the body, and that doesn't hold water. And we have much different types of drugs now than we had when they were looking at eyes back then.
Yes, that's true, yes.
So we can't hold that up under scrutiny. But what we have found is that certain families tend to cause pigments to appear on their bodies. For example, if they abuse their livers, brown spots come on their skin.
Right.
Easier than a person who doesn't. So in this lady, I asked her if she had ever taken any drugs, and she said no. She was pretty much of a vegetarian. And I asked her if she had pigments on other parts of her skin. She did. I asked her if anyone in her family had pigments in other parts of the skin. Her father had them all over his body. I asked her if she drank much water, and she said no. So in the Russian work, they have found, and they believe, that a pigment appears over the iris area that connects to a certain organ or gland in order to protect itself. It's a posturing, to kind of a defense to protect itself from irritation. And so we can look to that area where that pigment has appeared to see and ask questions. The iris gives me the questions to ask. For example, I asked her, and I gave her thyroid test. Her thyroid tested low. Then we also look to see what color is that pigment. And in clinical studies, we have found that brown pigments tend to more reflect imbalances in the liver. For example, brown spots on the skin. Orange pigmentations have shown to reflect more imbalances in the pancreas. Fluorescent orange, more the gallbladder. And yellow pigments have more to do with kidney imbalances. Yellow has to do with kidneys. So we go first by what color it is, and then we look to the area that it's presenting in. So then we work with both areas of what we're seeing. So there's a whole lot of new research and study that has come out since some of the older books were written.
Well, that's very interesting. We were chatting before we went on the air about some of the changes, some of the new science, the new thinking. So thank you for that new information. And what did you specifically add to the field of iridology study?
Well, there are several iridologists that have been looking in the area of the pancreas. And we used to just show the pancreas in one area. But Gunther Jurassic, for example, from Germany, and different ones were researching. And when they actually questioned people with markings in 4 areas of the iris, they found the pancreas reflecting in those areas. And the pancreas is actually in the middle part of the abdomen. And so the other thing that was found was the heart now in 4 areas, and the heart positions more toward the middle area. So if you know much about an iridology chart, you know that that central area is an area where it might reflect in more parts. So the heart used to just be at 3 o'clock in the left eye. Now it's at 3 and 9 in the left eye, and at 3 and 9 in the right eye. So so we do find some new things in the chart, and in the liver areas we found some different parts too. There was a study done by Dr. Daniele Larito of Italy and Dr. Fregnet of France, who were using something called iridotherapy. And that's where they used colored lights to shine into specific areas of the iris. And they actually found that they could affect healing or change in the areas that they were shining the light into.
Really?
Yes. And so that's another way that we've started working on iris charts. One of my students, Emil Biwo from Norway, from Sweden, just completed a whole study looking at many, many different charts. And the iris chart has developed over hundreds of years that we have recorded reference of. And many of those charts, when they first were developed independent of the different iridologists knowing one another.
Right.
For example, Ignaz von Pexley was in Budapest, Hungary, and then we had Liljeqvist in Sweden, and they developed their chart around the same time but did not know one another. Bernard Jensen brought a lot of those charts all together from all parts of the world. They didn't have email back then, so they weren't able to collaborate, like we do now in an instant. And so we found that the head areas were reflected more in the top of the iris, the leg, thigh, and foot at the bottom, and the stomach area around the pupil in the central part. And we found this over and over again in iris charts. And so around the world, we've had Dr. Joseph Deck, who was, many of the German researchers were very meticulous and detail-oriented, saw thousands of patients, and coded things that they found. For example, after seeing hundreds of people with heart trouble, and they all had a marking at 3 o'clock in the left iris, that's how they came about drawing those charts.
I see.
And when we brought them together, it's amazing how similar those charts have been.
Ellen Tart Jensen, do me a favor, give us your contact information.
Okay, thank you. You can reach us through www.bernardjensen.com or 760-471-9977. And I would like to say that if you call by Valentine's Day, we're going to offer all of the listeners a free gift. A book by myself called Body Works, which tells the different organs and glands of the body and what to do for it, and also the Nutrition Handbook by Dr. Bernard Jensen. And so those will be our free gift to you for listening to this show today.
And this is your new edition on iridology, right?
Yes.
And when did this come out?
This came out almost a year ago, Techniques in Iris Analysis. And this book took me years and years and years, a labor of love, but intense work, pouring through thousands and thousands of iris photographs that I've photographed myself in order to demonstrate that certain marking that I want to show or that certain color that I'd like to show. For example, it might be great for our mothers to know that if your children have blue eyes, they're going to have more of a tendency for lymph congestion. And that means sinus congestion, lung congestion, aching joints. We have found after questioning thousands of people with blue irises, they tend to have allergies to dairy, wheat, sugar.
This is your opinion based on your experience. A blue-eyed person does lousy on dairy, wheat, and sugar. Okay.
It's based on my experience as well as the work of Dr. Joseph Deck, Dr. Joseph Ungerer. These are shoulders that we stand on in their research and in their work that they did.
Right.
I have all those volumes in my library. But just check that out. People that tend to be more blue-eyed, they come from the colder regions of the world. And if they drink a lot of pasteurized milk, which is high in casein, which they make furniture glue with, it tends to clog up the sinuses, and the lungs become more congested. I'm a blue-eyed person myself, and I used to wonder why when I drank milk or I ate ice cream, I became so congested. Well, these people have a greater tendency for it than the brown-eye or the mixed-eyed person. So if you would just have those people leave off wheat, which is high in gluten, which when I was a child we used to make glue with white flour and water.
Right.
Leave off that wheat, that dairy, and that sugar, which is very sticky.
You mean like sodas and things are bad? Candy? Right. Okay.
Anything with sugar.
Right.
And ice cream especially, because it has that sugar and that dairy in it. It's very sticky. And I've worked with children with tubes in their ears, children with swollen tonsils, running sinuses, running eyes, and you get them off wheat, milk, and sugar, and a lot of that starts to clear up.
Now, I'm not trying to make a joke, but it is very simple after you know what to do. So you're saying that a lot of sinus congestion, postnasal drip, etc., a lot of that's caused by consuming dairy. You mean cow's milk, cheese, butter, ice cream. People do bad on that.
Especially if it's pasteurized.
Right.
When it's certified raw, I'm not saying go out and just choose any raw milk because it might not be clean, but certified raw has to be very pure and clean. It has more enzymes in it, and then even still some people have allergies to it. Bernard Jensen used to recommend that people go to goat milk more so because the goat milk is more similar to human milk in composition.
Yeah, I find that a lot of people, I read Michael Murray, I read Gary Null, men who have a great track record, and they write, and I'm repeating this, that 75% of the population is sensitive or allergic to cow's milk. I think that's accurate, that's why I repeat it. And I find that most people, most of the time, do well on goat milk and sheep milk, and which humans have always used anyway. It's hardly new. And it's interesting how food directly affects how you feel. In the wellness profession, we take that for granted because we didn't know that at one time, and then we learned it. And now when you tell people that, some people think, really, they've never heard it before. And some people actually listen to your advice, and they're shocked how in, they say, 30 days, roughly, they think, you're right, I feel amazingly better. How simple that was.
Absolutely, and I always give my clients replacement therapies. For example, in place of cow's milk, please go and try some almond milk, or try some coconut milk, or try some rice milk. Try something that's going to replace that so you won't miss it in your diet.
Let's go back to the idea of the fibers in the eye. So let's say one of the listeners today is listening and they look in the mirror and they have a little light and they think, oh my goodness, I have all these burlap-like fibers in my eye. Can that be improved? Can those fibers become tighter and stronger?
Okay. From our research up till now, our fiber structure is the same as we have at birth, because we know that through a lot of study that people are doing to use for identification the irises for banks and airports. So we have to be as clear as we can about what iridology really is, because the iris is like a thumbprint. And we have not seen that structure make huge changes. However, the genetic benefit, and Dr. Jensen used to say the iris is a master science of genetics. And I have even worked with different universities in their genome departments who become very fascinated with the iris and what it will tell us about genetics. So if you have a child with a loose weave, what Dr. Jensen used to call burlap, if they will eat healthfully and consume foods with a lot of bioflavonoids, which bioflavonoids tighten and strengthen structure, a lot of minerals, if they will do that, they will end up having a longer life if they don't abuse themselves, even maybe better than a person with a tight weave that never sees an iridologist, that perhaps drinks a lot of coffee, eats a lot of junk food, or a lot of artificial preservatives and chemicals, and burns the candle at both ends.
Gotcha.
A lot of people with a tight weave don't know there's anything wrong with them till they're in their 50s.
Right.
And I had a lady that came to me one time with a very tight weave, and she was having a lot of problems with colitis. And when she came to me, I said, well, what are you eating? She said, canned foods. And I said, well, there's your problem. She said, well, that can't be the problem. That's what I eat all my life. Well, now it's starting to wear on her.
Right.
So the weaves tell us a lot about, the eyes are about what you do with what you have. And so if you look and see, hey, I have a really tight weave, then that doesn't mean you can run yourself to death and push yourself really hard. It means you still need to take care of yourself, but you have a little more strong genetic structure than a person with a looser weave.
And that woman who's eating, we have to take a short break. That woman who was eating canned food, did she listen to you about the eating fresh food idea?
Yes, she did.
Well, that's very
Helped
good.
change her life.
Well, we've been chatting with Ellen Tart Jensen. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
You're listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. We'll be right back after these important messages.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Young Connection, your one-stop connection for all your graphic design and commercial needs. Young Connection is a full-service printing and media design company dedicated to providing the highest level of customer service and satisfaction. Young Connection provides swift response and rapid turnaround services for banners, brochures, business cards, letterheads, church bulletins, funeral programs, flyers, logo design, posters, and much, much more, all at an affordable price. Young Connection, the official printing company of LA Talk Live. Give them a call at 310-491-3336. That's 310-491-3336, or visit their website at www.youngconnection.com. That's www.youngconnection.com. Young Connection Printing and Media Services, proud sponsors of LA Talk Live, where it's more than just talk.
Hi, this is Dr. Levi, your fitness doctor, making a personal house call, inviting you to join me Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific for my all-new show, The Dr. Levi Show. Join us as we discuss fitness, health, and well-being, including emotional and spiritual health. So don't forget to tune in to The Dr. Levi Show every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes, Radio R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv, or catch us on the Live 365 network, and now on Radio Flag and Stitcher Radio. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Elena, inviting you to join me every Wednesday at noon for Elena's Beauty Talk and more, exclusively on LA Talk Live. You can also catch us on iTunes, Radio, R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Starlet Quarles, and I'm inviting you to join us every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for a new show right here on LA Talk Live, The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People. Join us as we discuss the topics that are relevant to today's generational leaders. So don't forget to tune in to The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People, every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. My guest is the president and founder of Omega Creamery, John Schindler. John has been on the show before. He has these excellent, great tasting, dairy-free milks and ice creams that are just remarkably gourmet and fantastic. John, welcome back.
Thank you, Josh. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Yes, it's fun. You're following Ellen Tart Jensen, the iridologist, who really is a formidable teacher of the subject of wellness. And Ellen mentioned how people do lousy on dairy. Cow's milk, they just don't do that good on it. What can you say, And these taste great, and these are completely non-dairy.
They are. And I found it interesting. I found everything Ellen said very interesting. But I found it particularly interesting when she described how people do particularly poorly on ice cream because of the combination of dairy, bad fats, and sugars, which they're very sensitive to. And these are three of the areas that we've really worked on because we have low glycemic sweeteners, no conventional sugars, and high quality omega-3 fats. And we are dairy-free, non-GMO, organic, and have a stable carbohydrate platform that releases energy without the glucose spiking that sugars
Well, that all sounds to me like contemporary, intelligent thinking about wellness, which I think is one reason why the Omega Cream is doing very well. You're selling a lot of the product, right?
It's a very popular product.
It's popular because people know what they want now. They want something that tastes great, and these taste great. The ice creams are really remarkably good. I mean, I've tried the ice creams many times, and I think to myself, my God, this is a great tasting product.
Thank you. I always loved the taste of dairy. I grew up with dairy.
Right.
And so when formulating these products, it was always in mind to emulate the quality and texture and taste of dairy as closely as possible so that it's a replacement that doesn't require a sacrifice. It really tastes very similar. It's not as sweet in terms of sugar, but it has a very clean dairy-like taste. The milks have been described as tasting more like dairy than other non-dairy alternatives.
And what was the reason that you started these products? What did you do before this? You were involved in you're a producer.
I was in the film business. I did become a producer after working my way up the ladder from being a line producer, and before that I had a career in commercial real estate in the area of industrial plants and distribution, and that really kind of got me interested in food and as well as consumer products. I had a lot of public warehouse clients and refrigeration clients, but I did a wide variety of different things like that.
And so did you build your own manufacturing facility for this? You manufacture your own products in your own facility?
We do. We didn't build the building, but we design the production line and the equipment. We're a cottage industry in that we are very hands-on. We're not going through big co-packers. And what we're really going to be doing with our growth is using Southern California as our test market, where we're going to release a wider variety of other dairy-free alternative products, half and half, other flavors of ice cream.
Half and half. Oh my goodness.
Our products are probiotic as well and loaded with superfoods. And one of the areas I'm very interested in is combining functional probiotics with complementary functional superfoods, so that we can combine, for instance, probiotics that have cardiovascular clearing effects with superfoods that are also nurturing to the cardio system. There are also endurance type probiotics, and I'm working on formulas
John,
for athletes.
Tell my listening audience, what is a probiotic?
Well, probiotics are friendly flora that inhabit your digestional tract, your intestines. And surprisingly, I have heard, but I haven't verified this number, but I have heard from fairly reliable sources that potentially as much as 90% of every living organism in your body is not a human cell. That there's actually, because the microorganisms are much, much smaller than human cells. So like human cells in the planetary system of the body might be considered like the mammals, and the foreign microorganisms might be the insects. They're much smaller, so there's a lot more of them.
That's a very interesting perspective.
And so I kind of view the human body as being almost like a small planet or a society. And a lot of the citizens are very productive and helpful and essential to the carrying on of the society in a healthy way, and those would be the friendly flora. And some of the rogue elements, the terrorists of the body, might be, the destructive bacteria or viruses, which are counterproductive to the society carrying on in a really healthy fashion.
Sure. Well, that actually does seem like contemporary thinking. It seems like good thinking. Now, your milks, these are what? Rice milk, soy milk? Rice milk, hemp milk?
They are rice and flax, and hemp, with the predominance being rice and flax. And the ice creams have a bit more hemp in them for protein and other substance in it.
May I ask you a question now? These milks, we call them milks, obviously they're non-dairy. How big are these now in the grocery stores? I mean, are the big guys like Seal Test or something, if they're still around, are they looking at your products and thinking, oh my goodness, these new guys are beating us to the punch here with these new ideas? What's the thinking in the food world?
Well, the dairy alternative space is a very hot space right now in terms of growth.
Dairy alternative? Okay.
That's what we call it anyway.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And because there's been a migration away from both dairy, because as you pointed out, as much as 74% of people are lactose intolerant or sensitive to dairy. So people are moving away from drinking milk as much, and the milk is being used more for things like cheese and other products. And there's also migration away from a lot of soy due to most soy being genetically modified, Roundup resistant soy, and the Roundup kills off competing weeds, but it also ends up making its way potentially into the soy, so people are afraid of soy as well.
Yes.
And so non-soy dairy alternative products is growing at a very, very rapid rate. The non-soy dairy alternatives has been growing by between 20 and 40% per annum over the last several years.
That's real growth. Wow.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting space. we feel we have the healthiest of all the alternatives and that we taste more like real dairy. We're definitely lower in sugar. We're by far the highest in omega-3s with more than double our nearest closest competitors.
Okay, let's do these two important concepts. Why is it important to be low sugar?
Well, sugar digests very quickly and spikes the glucose in the blood, causing insulin insensitivity. Basically, in order to balance out the glucose spike, the body uses insulin to stabilize the metabolism. Otherwise, it revs up really fast. And that stresses the adrenal glands as well as creating inflammation. And inflammation, particularly due to sugars, works in conjunction in a negative way with bad fats and clogged arteries, in that it chokes out good circulation. And circulation is vital to bringing nutrients and detoxifying all the cells in your body. And so one of the things that people suffer from that a lot of people don't even know exists is vascular inflammation. And you see this with, for instance, diabetics who end up with swollen limbs and sometimes even have to have like feet amputated and things like that because vascular inflammation is cutting off the circulation. But this is something that people in general are facing, and even leads to things like ADD, because the brain requires the blood cells to be able to go into the small capillaries single file and to be able to access the very, very small capillaries. And so, your eyes need that, your liver needs that, your brain needs that, your nervous system needs that. And so having good circulation is crucial. And that's really one of the main things we're trying to do with our products, is give you a product that can help improve your circulation and give the nutrients that your body's the ability to deliver healing and nutrition to the parts that are only accessible through the very small capillaries. Right. And recently I did a treatment of intravenous ozone with a friend of mine.
Oh, really?
And she was commenting that my blood was redder than anybody else's blood that she's looked at, that I have more oxygen in it. And I know it's because of the high omega-3 content that is in my diet. And my research indicates that the optimum level of omega-3s to omega-6s and 9s is approximately equal. But that recently I read that the normal American diet has 14 to 25 times as many omega-6s as omega-3s. Right. And omega-3s are anti-inflammatory, arterial cleansing. They help rebuild your nervous system. They're little, detoxifying repair machines in a way. They're so good for the body. And the 6s are not as helpful in that sense. They're still essential, and the 9s actually can be inflammatory. And there's also a similar ratio of a much higher number of omega-9s than 3s. And in some situations, people get more 9s than 6s.
And so you, in your product, you focus on high amounts of omega-3 in all your milks. Is that it?
In all of our fats, in our milks, and also in our ice cream, our milks are actually 62% plus omega-3s in terms of the total ratio of fat.
Wow.
And so there's more omega-3s than any other fat combined. And the idea is that we help you load up on omega-3s, because in most of the foods you're eating, they're omega-3 deficient. And so therefore, we want to give you extra ones to balance out the other fats in your diet, so that your arteries don't get clogged, your joints don't get stiff, and you're not inflamed and congested. Mm-hmm. And bad fats will make you congested, but the omega-3s are anti-congestive, and they're anti-inflammatory, and they keep the system flowing in a way where it's like all the little streams and capillaries in the body are flowing nicely with, pure water and are not stagnant.
By the way, on your beverages, I notice you have a blue, a green, and a red. So what is the blue one here? What's the difference?
That's the vanilla, and it's a little bit sweeter and has more vanilla in it, and it's the only one that has whole raw coconut sugar in it, which is very high in minerals and is the lowest glycemic sugar of any sugars that are commercially available.
So this has coconut sugar.
It has coconut sugar in it as well as some stevia.
It doesn't have any agave, no honey,
No,
no
nothing
maple syrup.
like that.
Okay.
Nothing like
Because
that.
you feel that this is a more contemporary formulation. This is in your opinion, this is better contemporary science. Not only great taste, but also this is just better.
Well, it's lower glycemic. It's less sugar. For instance, agave has a glycemic index somewhere in the range of 60 to 65.
Right.
Raw coconut sugar has a glycemic index in the range of 35 to 40.
Uh-huh.
And so it's a lower glycemic index. Stevia is almost zero. And in the ice creams, we have a xylitol, an organically compliant xylitol, a Xyla, which is also antifungal and antibacterial. It helps to prevent candida and things like that. And it has a low glycemic index also of below 15. And so if you combine all of the sweetener profiles, our sweetener has a glycemic index of somewhere around 8 or 9, which is extremely low, and it will stabilize other sugars. And so if you are eating one of our ice creams that has, for instance, raspberries and strawberries in it, they have more sugar, but the sweetener will actually balance more of that sugar and will carry out to help balance your system from other things you might be eating as well. So if you're eating a sweet like cookies and you're drinking our milk with it, it's going to actually help to balance out the sweet in the sugar in the cookies.
Okay, nicely said. Now, what about the milk with the red cap?
That's the original formula, and that's the one formulated to taste more like natural dairy. So it has a sweetener profile like natural milk, and milk is actually quite sweet. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of natural sugars that occur in milk, but it's not as sweet as the vanilla formula. And
what are the ingredients in the red milk again? What are the ingredients?
Well, they're all the same except for the sweeteners, and the original red cap has only a small amount of a very clean tasting organic stevia that we found. We went through more than 75 different samples of stevia to really find an organic blend that we felt doesn't have that strange taste. And the way we balance our products, we have found that people who even don't like stevia don't taste any stevia in our products.
And what is stevia, by the way?
Stevia is an extract from a leaf that is a shrub that grows primarily in South America. It's indigenous to South America. And it has sweet aspects which are not sugar, but they're actually molecules that trigger sweetness in your taste buds, but they're actually glucose stabilizing and really have no sugar in them whatsoever.
Oh, they are glucose stabilizing.
Yes, they are, absolutely. Stevias will stabilize sugar very well. In fact, people who are mildly diabetic, can utilize stevia very effectively to help, balance their glucose.
And so your milks, your rice milks, rice and flax milks, I drink those when I'm eating breakfast. I put them in my tea. Is that I just use them in any way I might be using milk?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. And we're going to be coming out soon with a half and half, which is also easier to use in teas or coffee or something like that because there's less water in it. You don't need to put as much, so it doesn't lower the temperature as much.
I see. That sounds like people would probably really love that. And by the way, what do these sell for? These milks?
They retail for $4.99. So they're organic, non-GMO. So they're about equivalent to an organic dairy milk. Mm-hmm. And we're in the upper middle in the pricing scheme of things for organic dairy or dairy alternative products. But we're on the low side of cost when you're calculating out nutrition and taste. And omega-3s, for instance, a product like Silk DHA omega-3 has less than 70 milligrams of omega-3 a serving, and we're at 2,500.
Oh my goodness!
So we have more than 30 times as much.
Oh my goodness!
And there's virtually almost no omega-3s, even in raw dairy. Even though they claim that raw dairy has more omega-3s, it does have more because the omega-3s come from the chlorophyll in the grass, but still they have a minuscule amount, relatively speaking, like such as less than 50 milligrams per serving.
And what's the shelf life on these milks when I take them home?
The shelf life on these is marked at 5 weeks, but there's another week or two if they're kept refrigerated properly on top of...
Okay, so they have a very good shelf life. So now let us shift to your fantastic ice creams. Whenever I announce to the staff here that you're going to be on, they're very thrilled because they love your ice cream. They just really... Some of them, there's one fellow working here who's a professional chef, and when he tried them with a little bit of a kind of a smug attitude. He thought, oh boy, what is this going to be? You know, some hippy-dippy, dopey stuff. And he was very impressed at the quality. He thought, oh my God, this is really a gourmet item. And so tell me about your ice creams.
Well, the 5 flavors that we have out right now, 4 of them are dairy alternatives and emulate ice cream, but they're dairy free, and one of them is a kombucha sorbet, and so that's a fat free. The other 4 are very high in omega-3s, having even significantly more than 2,500 milligrams a serving, and the kombucha sorbet has no fat, so it has no omega-3s, and omega-3s are good fats, but they are fats, and it's got the kombucha sorbet has a higher probiotic count because of the kombucha in it, but all of them are probiotic, and also are infused with superfood nutrition.
All right. So for those of you just tuning in to Here's to Your Health, we're speaking with John Schindler, who is the president and founder of Omega Creamery, which is a great non-dairy beverage and ice creams. And on these ice creams, how did you come up with these? Well, let me go back to kombucha first. So, what is kombucha, and why do I want to eat it?
Well, kombucha is a probiotic fermented tea that was originally formulated and designed for the royal family of China some 3,500 years ago or more, and it basically is a composite of about 5 different cultures that they had grouped together, and you put the culture in with, we use organic cane sugar and organic teas. We use a combination of green, black, and hibiscus, and then the culture consumes the sugar, so the sugar disappears.
They need that to feed, right?
Yeah, the funguses and the cultures consume it and convert it into a probiotic that is can be either somewhat approaching vinegary tasting, or sometimes, depending on how it's done, can even have a small amount of alcohol in it as it converts. The way we do it, there's no alcohol in it at all. And so it's got a lot of probiotic nutrition for digestion in it. And it helps the immunities and overall health booster as a tonic.
Well, John, it's been fun having you on the show. We actually ran out of time. Where can I get these lovely Omega Creamery ice creams and milks?
Well, we're in a bunch of Whole Foods around the LA area. We have a website, omegacreamery.com, that lists the stores, but we're in the Jimbo's in the San Diego area. We're in the Mother's. We're in the Lassen's. We're in the Whole Foods, and we're in a number of independents, health food stores, Rainbow Bridge.
Oh, good. All the good ones.
Yeah, we're in most of the really good health food stores, and we intend on expanding our platform significantly to quadruple the number of stores we're in this year.
That sounds good. You've been listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Broadcast Network. I'm your host, Josh Lane. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Thank you for tuning in to LA Talk Live, reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we're more than just talk. Stay tuned. Young Connection, your one-stop connection for all your graphic design and commercial printing needs. Young Connection is a full-service printing and media design company dedicated to providing the highest level of customer service and satisfaction. Young Connection provides swift response and rapid turnaround services for banners, brochures, business cards, letterheads, church bulletins, funeral programs, flyers, logo design, posters, and much, much more, all at an affordable price. Young Connection, the official printing company of LA Talk Live. Give them a call at 310-491-3336. That's 310-491-3336, or visit their website at www.youngconnection.com. That's www.youngconnection.com. Young Connection Printing and Media Services, proud sponsors of LA Talk Live, where it's more than just talk.
Journey Sisters is an organization that embodies and motivates women from all walks. Our membership includes 44 women that are constantly growing in the areas of personal development and community involvement. Monthly, we offer free leadership classes at McCade's Restaurant. Journey aims to inform women in the areas of heart disease and HIV and AIDS. Experience the journey now by logging into www.journeymosaicinc.com. Toll free 888-906-5519. Journey with no excuses.
If you're like me, it's lunchtime, and I want to thank our sponsors of the Faith on the Frontline radio broadcast in the form of Uncle Daryl's Cajun Cuisine at 2560 Lincoln Boulevard, Marina Del Rey, and also Doolin's on Crenshaw, that soul food restaurant owned by Greg Doolin, my good friend and brother, 4859 Crenshaw Boulevard, right here in Los Angeles, California. We want to thank them for being our special sponsors for Faith on the Front Line. I want to encourage all my Faith on the Front Line listeners, if you're hungry, if you want seafood, Uncle Daryl's Cajun Cuisine is the place to go, right there at 2560 Lincoln Boulevard on the corner of Lincoln and Washington Boulevard. And if you want some soul food and you know you're not on a diet but need to be, but you're willing to skip it just for a quick second, I'd encourage you to go to Doolin's right there on Crenshaw Boulevard, 4859. Greg will take care of you. His wonderful staff will smile at you and they will pile it on. I'm telling you, it's ridiculous. Good food, good cuisine. Thank you for being our sponsors. Faith on the Frontline family, go and support Uncle Daryl's and Doolin's. Thank you so much.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Broadcast Network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. My guest is Kate Tart, the educator for Derma E products. Derma E, one of the really pioneering and excellent wellness cosmetic companies. Kate, welcome to Here's to Your Health.
Hi, Josh. Thanks for having me again.
Happy to have you here. You're one of my series regulars. and you have all these lovely Derma E products here today. And I think the topic today is skincare for this wintertime.
Winter's time skincare, yes, because your skin tends to change dependent on the season. I know I particularly get very dry, and I experience actually facial eczema, and so many of our products help alleviate and really just moisturize your skin thoroughly, so your skin's nice and soft and hydrated even in the winter months.
And it's so in other words, when it's cold out, is the skin more trouble?
Yeah, if you think about it, you're constantly in and out. If you're outside, I mean, Los Angeles is kind of the worst example because it's 80 degrees here.
Right.
But if you think about most other locations, you're in the freezing cold air outside, and then you walk inside and it's blasting heat. So it's actually the temperature changes, the drastic changes that affects your skin. And so oftentimes people get dry or flaky or patchy or just more sensitive, and so they really need to reach for more hydrating products to help just kind of keep their skin at a nice neutral balanced level.
Now, for my listeners on LA Talk Live who don't know of Derma E, one of your first product, possibly your first product, was it a lotion or a cream?
Yeah, it was
with vitamin E. Is that it?
Correct. That's actually our namesake. So Derma E is, the E stands for vitamin E, and we were one of the first natural skincare companies to utilize vitamin E topically in a cream. And one of our first products was a vitamin E cream. It's now called the Vitamin E 12,000 IU cream. It's not the exact same formula. We've actually made it better. But yes, that was the product 30 years ago. We're celebrating our 30th anniversary this year, so go Derma E.
Yes. And so at one time, the whole idea of using vitamin E topically on the skin was considered by some people to be controversial. Was that it? People thought, that has no merit. And now, 30 years later, people realize, no, vitamin E on the skin is very healing.
Well, the original thought was vitamin E is so beneficial when taken internally. It's good for your heart. It's a great antioxidant. It helps lubricate your joints and your ligaments inside. And so our founders thought, well, if it has all of these amazing benefits internally, externally, it's got to be the same. It has to be moisturizing and beneficial. So they kind of just took that advice and they really researched the ingredient ahead of time, and they formulated this fantastic cream, and it really just took off. They introduced it into many different health food stores, and people just loved it, and it had a cult following. And so little by little, the company and the brand built up, and now we're a brand of, I think, about 90 products. So
wow.
Yeah, we've got a good solid group.
And so if I put vitamin E lotion on my hands or on my face or on my knees, it moisturizes and heals. Is that it? Can we say that?
Yeah, it's very moisturizing. Vitamin E is known as an emollient, so it helps to kind of any type of water that's on the surface of the skin, it helps to lock it there and prevents your skin from dehydrating. And so we have many different products in Derma E that feature vitamin E. We actually recently just launched Intensive Therapy, which is this line of products right here. Yes. And it actually features full spectrum vitamin E, and Derma E is the first natural skincare company to utilize the full spectrum. So what that means?
What does that mean? Yeah.
So full spectrum means with regard to vitamin E, there are 8 different forms. So there are tocopherols and there are tocotrienols, and there are 4 in each group. So together there's 8 different forms of vitamin E. And the benefit of having a full spectrum with regard to putting it on topically is you're getting the highest antioxidant benefit, and you're getting the maximum emolliency from the vitamin E. So these particular products are formulated to really just hydrate, moisturize, keep your skin nice and soft, and also protect the free radical damage that you just get from just walking outside.
So in other words, this is new science now, that it's not just D-alpha tocopherol vitamin E, but there are other cofactors that are equally or more important in the vitamin E complex. Is that it?
Well, it's not that it's a new science. It's just harnessing the power of the full spectrum is now what we're doing, and I'm not sure if other natural skincare companies are doing it yet, but there is backed science behind the use of tocotrienols, which are less used than tocopherols. Tocopherols are the main form of vitamin E that's used in topical products. Like if you look in pretty much any topical product with vitamin E, it's going to be tocopherol. Tocotrienol is a less used form, but we're using that as well to, again, just really get the maximum antioxidant benefit from that one vitamin.
And what is the name of these products?
So these are the Vitamin Intensive Therapy Body care products, and you can find them pretty much wherever Derma E sold. So Whole Foods, Mother's, Lassen's, Sprouts. We're on dermae.com. They can purchase it there. But they are relatively new, so if you can't find it in your local store, you can always find it online.
And these, I just rub it in my hand, I put it on my knees. How do I use this?
Yeah, so we have 2 body lotions, and then, so this is kind of more lightweight, everyday. If you don't have super dry skin, it's to just keep it nice and soft. The Body Balm is a concentrated treatment type of a product, so that is for your more chronic dry skin, like your elbows, your knees. And then we also have a hand cream, and that's for people that use their hands a lot, who wash their hands a lot. I love recommending it to moms, nurses or doctors or even gardeners who just, use their hands. It's a really nice, lightweight, hydrating hand cream, but it doesn't feel sticky or greasy, and it does provide great moisture.
All right, that seems important. And you say I can use this, men and women can use this?
Yes. We do have an unscented body lotion, and the rest of the products are scented with lavender and neroli, which is a very light, non-invasive scent. It's very soft, so yes, it can be unisex.
And what's a body lotion vis-a-vis like a body cream?
A body lotion's just more lightweight. A cream is going to be a little bit more heavy and concentrated.
So I can use a cream and then get dressed in the morning and go to work, or I can't use a cream and put it under my clothes?
It really just is dependent on what you need. If you have severely dry skin, I'd go for and reach for a cream. If you just feel like you want to keep your skin nice and hydrated and moisturized, and your skin is just slightly dry, then a lotion would be for you.
Okay. And so this is the brand new stuff. So you tell me what should we talk about now?
So we also have a line of products that feature an ingredient called hyaluronic acid.
Oh.
And this is a wonderful, fantastic ingredient that has been used for many, many years in the natural skincare industry as well as the mass industry. Basically, what this ingredient does is it attracts water to the surface of the skin and it holds it there. So kind of like vitamin E, it really helps to prevent the skin from getting dehydrated. And hyaluronic acid is an ingredient that does very well for people that have chronically dry skin or just really feel like no matter what they put on their face, it always feels dry or always feels tight. And so we have a whole line of hydrating products for individuals with dry skin. And these products are called the hydrating products. And we have many different lines in Dermy, many different platforms, I should say. And this is the best-selling platform. Pretty much no matter what store I go to, people always recognize Dermy E from the hydrating line because it's been around for a really long time. And 2 of the products are top sellers for Dermy E, and that's the night cream and the eye cream. So basically how it works is if a consumer, anybody that's listening, has really, really dry skin and they feel like no matter what, their skin just never feels hydrated, I would recommend just a very basic skincare routine of cleansing their skin twice a day.
What does that mean, cleansing the skin?
Just washing it, just basically getting off any dirt, oils, or impurities. It's not a good idea to not cleanse your skin at least once a day because basically dirt, oil, and debris and pollution start to build up, and you just want to cleanse that and have just a fresh start when you're applying a cream.
And should I use cold water or warm water? What kind of water should I use on my face? Isn't there controversy on that?
Everybody has preferences with water. Some people say cold water helps to shrink pores. Some people say too hot water makes your skin irritated. I always just suggest lukewarm water, but really if you love cold water, use cold water. So just I would cleanse your skin twice a day with a very mild sulfate-free cleanser that doesn't contain sodium lauryl sulfate, which is what our cleansers are. So it's
you guys
not
have no sodium lauryl sulfate?
No SLS, no phthalates. So it's not going to strip your skin. It's going to leave your skin nice and balanced. And then follow with a day cream in the day and a night cream at night. And then an optional step would be to use a serum or an oil. And so a serum is a lightweight treatment, and consumers can use that underneath a cream if they so wish. Or, for example, like me, I have really, really, really dry skin. And so I use...
Really?
Yeah. I use a day cream and a night cream. And then at night, I also use a facial oil. And I know I talked about this the last time I was here, but I'll talk about it again. So basically, a facial oil adds to the emolliency of your night cream. So sometimes, no matter how emollient a night cream is for me, it's not enough. I feel like I just need more. My skin requires more. And so what oil does is it does a couple things. It locks in your moisturizer. It helps to soften your skin, and it really moisturizes your skin and gives it the benefit of the natural fatty acids that are found in an oil. So for example, I brought our hydrating facial treatment oil. And so what I do at night is I cleanse my face, I take off all my makeup, I put on the hydrating night cream, and that's just a very emollient, softening cream, and then I follow with just a couple drops of an oil. And the benefit of using an oil like the Derma E oil is it doesn't contain any oils that will clog your pores. Many people think that if they use a facial oil, it's going to make them break out or cause pimples or clog their pores. It's almost the opposite. A lot of times people who have combination to oily skin or acne prone skin, they find that after they start using an oil, it actually starts to not heal their skin but improve the texture. It helps prevent blemishes because their skin is at an optimal balanced state, and that's kind of what an oil does. It really just helps to balance and put your skin at a great equilibrium, if you will. So just a couple drops of the oil really helps to lock in the moisturizer. It softens my skin, and like I was saying before, I get eczema on my eyelids, and just using a drop or two, it basically makes it vanish overnight. And I haven't found anything like an oil that does that overnight.
What product is that?
It's the hydrating facial treatment oil. It's an argan oil blend. It contains argan oil and marula oil, as well as vitamin E and a couple other plant-based oils.
What is argan oil? I've heard the term. What is argan oil?
Argan oil is sometimes referred to as liquid gold. It's basically a nut oil, and argan oil is a great lightweight oil that's been now used in many different beauty care products. And what it does is it just imparts essential fatty acids and vitamin E into the skin to help repair. Sometimes the oil has been known to help increase collagen and elastin production. It can help to increase skin tightening and toning and help to boost skin firmness. For the argan oil blends that we use, it really helps to just soften and deeply, deeply hydrate and nourish the skin. So it has many different benefits. I also put it on my eyelashes because it's so safe and gentle. You can just apply the oil all over and it won't irritate your skin.
Doesn't it bother your eyes?
No, not at all.
Really? Oh, that's important.
Yeah.
Which one is that again?
The hydrating facial treatment oil. And we also have a couple other oils in our line. We also have a soothing facial treatment oil, as well as a skin, hair, and nail oil.
And hyaluronic acid, is it also not taken internally for structural issues like
Actually,
bad knees and
no,
stuff
you
like that?
can. Hyaluronic acid, for the listeners, if they take it internally, it helps to basically lubricate joints and muscles. Sometimes people use it when they experience arthritis, or if they have tendonitis, they'll take an internal hyaluronic acid. It basically kind of just cushions your joints and your ligaments. If you think about it topically, it kind of does the same thing. It just creates this very soft, kind of squishy, moisturized skin. It helps to plump up the skin with moisture and just, again, make it very soft to the touch.
Great. For those of you just tuning in today to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Broadcast Network, we're speaking with Kate Tart, who's the educator for Derma E products. And Kate is one of a series regulars on my show. And Derma E are some great products. And Kate has some new products today. And what about this in the pump?
So that's the hydrating cleanser. So you would use that once or twice a day. And then I also brought the top small box is our skin, hair, and nail oil, and that's 98% argan oil. So that you can use. It's kind of a multi-purpose all-over body care product. So you can use it on your face as a last step in your routine, in your nighttime routine. You can use it on your hair to tame away any flyaways or frizzies. I like to use it on my.
Really? How do I use that on the hair?
You just put 1 or 2 drops and rub it in between your palms, and then you kind of just rub the oil into into your hair. You don't want to use a lot because it is an oil, but if you use a very spare amount, it will just basically tame any frizz that you experience. And then on wet hair, you can use it as a deep conditioning treatment. So what I like to do is just get my ends slightly wet at night, and then I'll put the oil on the ends of my hair and then wash my hair like normal in the morning, and it will help to fortify and strengthen my hair, because I do use hot appliances every once in a while, and it really helps to strengthen and prevent split ends and breakage.
What's a hot appliance?
Like a blow dryer or curling iron or
Oh,
flat
that's
iron.
bad for the hair, isn't it?
Very bad.
That's bad, yeah.
It's a big no-no.
It just dries out the hair, is that it?
Yeah, it just basically just damages it. And then on your cuticles.
But you do that because you want a certain look, is that it?
Yeah, I have curly hair, and you know, if a girl has curly hair and she wants straight hair, then she has to use a man-made appliance.
Okay, I got you. Okay, fine.
And then you can also use argan oil on your cuticles. I know a lot of girls, a big trend right now is gel nails. And while they're great and they last a long time, it's really rough when you take gel nails off, because it really dries out your nail bed and your cuticles. And just 1 or 2 drops of, again, the argan oil, ours is the skin, hair, nail oil, will really help to soften the cuticles and the nail beds and help strengthen them after such a drying process.
Alrighty. And in this product with argan oil, I notice you also have jojoba oil. Is that also quite fantastic?
Jojoba oil is very beneficial. I believe it has a slight antibacterial benefit, and it's also very healthy for the scalp. So that's why our formulator decided to put jojoba oil in this particular product, because it can be used on the hair. And then there's also kukui oil. Kukui oil is, again, a very lightweight oil that is very beneficial for the skin.
And kukui oil is from Hawaii?
Yes, it's from Hawaii. It's extracted from the nut of the kukui tree. I believe, if my memory serves me right, there's a kukui tree, and then the fruit goes on the tree, and then there's a nut within the fruit, and then the oil is extracted from the nut.
All right. Now, since I really know Zippo about makeup, you want to tell my audience that these Derma E products, for women and for men, you can put them on your skin, and then if you're going to apply makeup, you can put makeup on top. Is this correct?
Correct. Yes. Dependent, and because we have so much variety within our Derma E family of products. Like I said, we have something around 90 plus products. We have something every skin type, whether you're acne prone or you have rosacea or you have sensitive skin or dry skin.
What if you have all that?
If you have all of it, then you can mix and match. And we also have products for your skin type. So if you're super, super oily, we have products for you. If you're super, super dry, we have products for you, like our hyaluronic acid. So really, if you want skincare products, if you're looking for skincare products to offer a great natural solution for your problems, Derma E is definitely a line that you should look into.
Okay, that sounds great. Sounds great.
Thank you.
And what about this before we wrap it up? The mask. This is at night when I'm sleeping?
No, the mask is actually something that you can use a couple times a week to just really put a great surge of moisture into your skin. So you just do it right after cleansing. You would apply the mask, leave it on for about 15 minutes, and then wash it off with warm water, and then apply your moisturizer afterwards. It's just going to impart a great amount of moisture, so your skin, again, just feels soft and supple.
So this is a theoretical question. So let's say we have a person who has dry skin and they try the hydrating mask. Will they theoretically see results in a day?
Yeah.
They see results right away?
Yeah. If you have really dry skin and you start the hyaluronic acid, the hydrating products routine, you will definitely see a visible difference in the skin texture. Your skin won't feel as dry. It won't look as dry. Some of the dry patchiness may start to go away within 24 hours. Some of the redness that you may experience from having that really dehydrated, tight feeling can start to disappear. A week, you'll notice it even more. And then a month or two later, you'll notice a really big change in your skin.
And at this juncture, so where do we buy the Derma E products? Tell me once again.
Okay, so we have our website. It's dermae.com.
That's DERM.
DERMAE.com. You can find us Mother's, Sprouts, Lasson's, The Vitamin Shop, Whole Foods, of course. We also are in many different mom and pop stores, many nutrition stores or just natural homeopathic stores. But you can always call our customer service and they can guide you in the right direction towards the store location nearest you.
Do you also do shampoos?
No, we actually do not do shampoos. We're strictly facial care for right now. We do also have body care. Our main focus is skin because that's where our heritage is. Derma means skin in Greek. And so we have kind of investigated shampoos and other products right now, but really we want to invest all of our time and energy into our heritage, which is skin, and really just perfect the products that we have and continue to make fantastic products for the skin.
Now, we're in California where the weather is fantastic. So what if I go to the beach and get a little too much sun? Instead of spending 20 minutes, I get way too much sun.
And you're like me, you're very fair, so you probably burn in like 15 minutes.
Well, I can get too much sun. What can I put anything on that would help me?
Yes, we do have a product called Scar Gel, and the name of it kind of may not be the most logical product that you can think of, but Scar Gel is actually formulated for scars, but it's very fantastic to use on burns as well. The reason why
it's like sunburns?
Yeah, sunburns. It has cooling ingredients. It has allicin, as well as allantoin and panthenol, and it is a gel. So I keep mine in the fridge, and I do use it for circumstances like if my skin is feeling a little hot. I of course do use it on my scars, but our Scar Gel is a fantastic product to use if you did overexpose your skin to the sun, because it will significantly help to calm it and soothe it and reduce the redness and start to just get it back to health again, make it feel nice.
So if I go to the beach and I get too much and I come back, I could put the Scar Gel on and I kind of takes care of some of the sting out of it.
It feels just like putting an aloe vera gel. A lot of times if you burn, a lot of people reach for aloe vera gel. It's basically the texture of it is exactly like an aloe vera gel, but it has other ingredients that will help to start the process of healing that burn and soothing that burn.
What can I put on my lips if my lips get dry? Can I put everything you have here? I kind of put it on my lips?
Well, we actually discontinued our lip product, so we don't currently have a lip product. We are in the process of looking into a lip balm or like a vitamin E stick, but it hasn't been approved or anything like that. So if you're really in a pinch, you could always use just one of the oils. Just put an oil directly onto your lips.
This argan oil?
Yeah.
So I can really put this on my lips and that'd be perfectly safe.
Mm-hmm, totally.
And actually, I find that it makes your lips look kind of nice too. It makes your lips look healthier.
Sheeny, yeah. I mean, when I put an oil on at night, I literally slather it all on it. Like I said, I put it right on my eyes. It doesn't burn. It doesn't sting. I put it down my neck. It's because it's just so natural and so soothing that the skin just absorbs it and loves it, and it's immediately comforted and hydrated by the oil.
Fantastic.
Are you intrigued now, John?
Well, no. I tell you, I find the subject interesting. Obviously, the stuff works. I mean, Vitamin E Skin works, and the fact that Dermy has that great track record. When people laughed at the whole subject, Dermy said, "No, this is a great idea. Vitamin E in the skin on the lotion is a great idea," and that you continue to have fresh products technologically, which is very nice. That's why you're in a leadership position.
Yeah, we constantly are looking at scientific literature to really find the best ingredients to put in our products. And before I forget, I wanted to mention that all of our products are vegan, they're cruelty-free, they're gluten-free, they're GMO-free, they're paraben-free. Did I say that? Like I said, they're sodium lauryl sulfate-free, they're phthalate-free. We really, again, just take a lot of care to make the best products that we possibly can, because we want our products to work. We want our customers at the end of the day to get those positive results and to see a big difference in their skin and to really just be like, wow, these products work. I can't believe it. My skin has changed 180 degrees.
Right. Well, Kate Tart, it's been fun.
Thanks,
fun having you on the show. Thank you very much. Kate Tart from
again.
Dermy. My pleasure. You're listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Broadcast Network. I'm your host, Josh Lane. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hi, I'm Jerry Bell of the Daz Band in New Birth.
And I'm Brahima Arsalan.
Inviting you to join us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Time for Jerry Bell's R&B Soul Classics, baby.
Join us as we play some of the greatest hits of soul and R&B and listen in to interesting discussions with the legends of the music.
So don't you forget, join us on the Jerry Bell's R&B Soul Classics. You'll love it. Exclusively on latalklive.com.
You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio.
Or watch us and listen directly at latalklive.com, baby.
Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure.
This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk, baby. We are music. Hi, this is Starlet Quarles, and I'm inviting you to join us every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for a new show right here on LA Talk Live, The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People. Join us as we discuss the topics that are relevant to today's generational leaders. So don't forget to tune in to The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People, every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on LA Talk Live. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
This is Brett Chapin.
And this is Dorothy Dillingham Blue, inviting you to join us every Saturday at noon Pacific Standard Time for our show, La La Land Talk.
Join us as we talk with some of the top talent in LA. Artists' untold stories, your phone calls, and live on-location broadcasts have made La La Land one of the best sources in LA for everything entertainment.
So don't forget to tune in to La La Land Talk.
Exclusively on latalklive.com.
You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com.
Saturdays at noon Pacific Time. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/LaLaLandTalk. Twitter, twitter.com/LaLaLandTalk. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live.
And we are more than just talk. I think we've got a Shakespeare monologue or two we could do. Yeah?
Jazz hands.
Kickball change.
Good
That's
stuff.
what I'm saying. Mm-hmm.
I'll do some Pippin.
Ooh, yeah. Some miming. I'm in a box.
Hello, I'm Joel Ramirez.
And I'm Lolita Robinson Coppage, and welcome to Joy in My House
on latalklive.com. Inspirational radio
with a touch of recovery.
A reality show where nothing is left unsaid.
And no one is insignificant who says it.
Exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV.
Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Barbara Perkins, inviting you to join us every Sunday afternoon at 2:40 for Sisters at the Well Radio, a conversation with women about women. Join us as we share stories about current events, jazz events, business opportunities, health and wellness, entertainment, and so much more. So don't forget to tune in Sundays at 2:40, exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Dawn Christie inviting you to join me every Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, for my all-new show, The Dawn Christie Show. Join me as I discuss love, spiritual readings, your purpose, why am I born, what am I here to do. So don't forget to tune in The Dawn Christie Show at 1 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on LA Talk Live. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV, reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. My guest is a professor at Loyola Marymount University who has, through sheer perseverance and dedication, created the first master's level program in yogic studies. Professor Christopher Chappell. Let me just read this. Chappell.
Yeah.
Christopher Chappell. I'm sorry, I almost got it right. Christopher Chappell. Let me read what his credentials are. He's the Doshi Professor of Indic and Comparative Theology at Loyola Marymount University. He's director of the Master of Arts in Yoga Studies program at Loyola Marymount University, and he's the editor of Worldviews, Global Religions, Culture, and Ecology. Dr. Chappell, thank you very much for being a guest today on Here's to Your Health. I very much appreciate it. And so, right off the bat, in 1985, you began at Loyola Marymount to recommend a master's level program in yogic studies. Is that correct?
Well, I came to LMU that year, and this was the first full-time dedicated position to the study of world religions at the university.
At Loyola Marymount.
Correct. And as I settled in, and as I taught my courses in the religions of India, religions of the Far East, religions of the Near East, as well as the survey course in world religions, I slowly detected a change within the city. And yoga had, of course, been in Los Angeles as long as it's been anywhere. In fact, Swami Vivekananda wrote his classic work, Raja Yoga, which is credited with really introducing the world to the spiritual aspects of yoga. He wrote that while he was living in Pasadena. And when I first moved here, visiting all of the classic sites, the Self-Realization Fellowship Shrine, the Vedanta Society, and so on, I saw that there was a passing of the generations. And then as the clock turned and as the 90s came in full force, there was a real resurgence, a real flocking to yoga on the part of a number of young people. And we began a series of public lectures at Loyola Marymount that enabled us to really be of service to a very interesting group of young people, many of whom were in those early years of the IT industry, working for GeoCities, and some of them the founders of places such as YogaWorks and what eventually became Exhale. And with that core group of yoga folk from within our community, the idea first came about to start a master's degree. And the university eventually said, after some discussion and review, they said, well, let's start with some certificates. So we started with certificates in 2002, and we were in the process of really continued success in that area when the university revisited me and said, well, you've had so many hundreds and hundreds of people receive these certificates, maybe we really should think about a degree. So, of course, all these things take quite some time, and we wrote a proposal that went through all the different academic committees, and then we welcomed our first cohort this past August, and we're in full swing.
And by the way, for the listeners today, so where did you receive your undergraduate and graduate degrees yourself?
Right. I grew up in New York State, and I started studying Sanskrit at State University of New York at Buffalo, then transferred down to Stony Brook. And I transferred down to Long Island because of a yoga center that had just been dedicated there in 1972. And
Which one was that, can I ask?
It's called Yoga Anand Ashram. And it's
Ananda Yoga?
It's not Ananda Yoga, a small independent concern founded by a woman called Anjali from Calcutta, and still operating, going strong in Amityville, New York on the South Shore. And the closest major university, Stony Brook, is what attracted myself and eventually my wife. And I continued in my studies of Sanskrit and of the Tibetan language and religious studies, comparative literature, and then went on from there into my PhD at Fordham University in the Bronx in New York City.
And you received a PhD in what subject at Fordham?
Yeah, I wrote my PhD on the concept of will in the Yoga Vasishta. And the Yoga Vasishta particularly appealed to me because it brings together Buddhist philosophy and yoga practice. And that was quite thrilling for me to experience. And it's an 11th century text out of Kashmir. And it was within the History of Religions program in the Department of Theology. My PhD supervisor was in the Department of Philosophy.
Aha. So kind of an eclectic approach. And now Fordham, of course, is a good school. And so there were people there who got your thrust. Because after this was what? By this time, it's the late 70s?
Yeah, I started there in my PhD program in 76, and at that time, within a year or two, we had 6 Sanskritists on the faculty.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, we had a very, very strong program in history of religions, particularly religions of India. Brilliant. One of my Sanskrit professors knew 25 languages.
May I ask, so that in retrospect you would say that Fordham in the late 70s was a very progressive school?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's actually that's a very good background. And then you came out to Loyola Marymount and found that they were very happy to have you on faculty?
Oh, absolutely. We, of course, are part of the Jesuit tradition, and the Jesuit tradition has a long history of both education and missions. And quite often we think of missionaries, we think of maybe not so happy thoughts. But with the Jesuits, right from the very beginning, more than 450 years ago, they had a policy that wherever a Jesuit would be sent, that Jesuit would have to take 15 years to learn the language, learn the culture, learn the spirituality innate, learn the religious systems within the particular culture before they would attempt even a translation, let alone a convincement process.
Well, that seems like a rigorous requirement.
Very rigorous. And in fact, in the upper Midwest, when they were sent out, they made certain that none of the Jesuits were generally from Italy or France, though they could have been English-speaking. They chose non-English-speaking Jesuits to come to that area so that they would be forced to learn the native languages. And they created really the dictionaries, the grammars, and they were really the first anthropologists in many ways.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's actually very impressive. Well, that's why people listen to this show, because you hear all sorts of great stuff. Now, so today, yoga is very popular.
Yeah.
Because I think people feel it serves a need.
Mm-hmm.
What is your take on what yoga is doing now for American culture, and where is it going to go?
Yeah, I think really quite literally the sky is the limit. And with the advent of media-mediated realities, people can easily lose lose so much. They can lose their own thinking process, they can lose their own body, they can lose their own breath.
What do you mean exactly by that statement?
Well, primarily population of young males who are so enculturated into video game culture, and people of all genders really grappling with the constant barrage of image cultivation, that there's an uptick. There's an uptick in anxiety, a concern about measuring up, and there's a sort of a lurking depression that somehow either life has to be lived through the mediation of an electronic device, or that one's worth can be measured by comparing oneself to, again, this barrage of images. And what yoga does is that it invites people in a non-competitive environment to be able to go inward, to be able to close their eyes, to be encouraged and given permission by a live person to not compare themselves to someone else, and to slowly re-inhabit the body. And this is an invaluable contribution. And I don't think it's any mistake or surprise that those resurgent people back in the 1990s were involved with IT. They really saw the effect on the body of just sitting in front of a screen for so many hours a day. And they also began to see what I think that we saw in that wonderful movie, The Matrix, that we're living in a reality that's created by others. And by having an experience within a yoga class, you're invited to go back and experience your own direct reality.
I think that's very well said, and it makes sense to me. And who's opposed to your thinking?
It's very interesting. I recently was a consultant and gave testimony in regard to the case in Encinitas, and there was a great deal of money that was given to the school district.
Which case was this?
It was the people of Encinitas versus the school board.
Oh.
And the school board had received funding from a donor, Sonia Jones, and the Patabi Joyce Foundation, as it was then called, to create a curriculum K-12 so that the students in school would have exposure to a yoga practice.
And Patabi Joy is a well-known Ashtanga yoga teacher?
Exactly, right. Recently passed away not that long ago in Mysore, India. And a number of students that I've worked with over the years have studied with him in India. And there's a wonderful film of his teaching at a studio called Jivan Mukti in New York City during the collapse of the World Trade Center. Very, very moving.
Oh, my goodness.
And he's had a rather profound effect on a number of people. And
is that David Life's school?
Yeah, David Life and Sharon Gannon, wonderful people. And what has happened is that this created a backlash among parents who were suspicious that this was some sort of reverse missionary activity, that by performing yoga or being asked to do yoga, that their children would be made receptive to ideas that were other than Christian ideas. And consequently, they asked for the school board to discontinue the program. And they recruited a professor from Indiana University in Bloomington to write about the history of how yoga has been taught and how it is associated with various aspects of, they were arguing that it was associated with Hinduism and that it was associated with Taoism. And step by step, I responded to the allegations that it was a subtle way of religious conversion. And the argument that I made is that the history of yoga shows that, yeah, it comes from India. It's a wonderful contribution to world culture. And that it's been taken up by some people within Hindu faith, some people within Buddhist faith, some people within Jain faith, certainly many people that follow the Sikh religion. Many of the Sufis, the Muslims of India, practice yoga. And for more than 100 years, certainly many Christians and many Jews have been practicing yoga. And that at core, it, in fact, in its fundamental text, the Yoga Sutra, explains how the mind works but it offers a theory about how the mind works, but it doesn't tell people what to think. And in fact, it is very explicit in respecting all possible religious paths. So fortunately, this argument prevailed, and the judge decided that it was okay for them to teach yoga in Encinitas School District.
And they teach yoga postures. What do they teach, and to what age groups of children?
Yeah, I'm told it's pretty comprehensive, that they have it available to students at all levels, and that they do breathing exercises and some movement. So.
Well, that seems like a good thing, but I guess some people who really don't know what yoga is would really think, oh, no, that goes against my religion. That's probably not true at all, but people really, are worried. So do you find yourself called to defend yoga on a regular basis?
No, that's really been the only instance that, comes to mind. I have to explain yoga because many people really associate it with its modern consumerist presence, which means that people think it's trivial, they think it's silly, they think it's all about fashion. And
well, to some extent, there is a yoga fashion now. So yeah. I do like your phrasing, consumerist. So why don't you tell my listening audience why yoga is now seen as consumerist?
Mm-hmm,
what does that mean exactly?
Well, it's interesting because when I first began the practice of yoga, it was within a nonprofit organization, as I say, still thriving, but a small community. And we've occupied, an artist loft and a storefront, and it truly, just a mom and pop operation, and continues to be very small scale. Profound teaching and wonderful connection with all that yoga has to offer. And then as I moved out to California, that was pretty much what was available in the 1980s.
In those days.
In those days.
Yes, correct. Yes.
And then in the 90s, it began to change. And some people had put together some rather remarkable business models, very different business models that were in fact for-profit businesses, and opened studios that in their original form had a couple of locations, and then those particular founders of YogaWorks, Chuck Miller and Mahdi Ezraty, sold to people from the tech industry, people that had been originally the founders of Ask Jeeves, and they brought in a business model that was based more on the gym. So they really ramped up the bid for membership, and then began to purchase other yoga studios. And some yoga studio owners were really grateful because running a yoga studio is a lot of work.
Oh, yes.
And they were just completely happy to have someone take over the other aspect of the business. And with that comes related merchandising, little boutiques with, Lululemon clothes and, the whole array of different bamboo block supports and different mats. And all of a sudden, when we used to do yoga in the old days, in the 70s, 60s and 70s and 80s, maybe we would have a grass mat, but most of the time it was just the bare floor. And we didn't really give a second thought to whether we had sweatpants on or jeans. We just moved. But all of a sudden, it became clear that some people felt more comfortable with a yoga mat under them that was sort of squishy. And other people really liked sort of sashaying into a yoga class with a particular, used to be a leotard, and then leotards got sort of...
So remember Danskins when we were young?
Danskins,
so now it's a different... So, but now, none of that criticism that you offer, not that you offer, but that you're stating, the whole idea of like wearing an outfit, a particular yoga outfit, or having a mat, or having bamboo blocks, or straps, or other equipment to aid the back. So that's all not really a problem. The fact that some people are earning a living selling you an $84 yoga mat. I was told there's some that actually $135. I hadn't seen one of those, but I did see one for $84, and I thought to myself, well, okay, it seems like a lot of money for a yoga mat, but if it's what you want, I don't actually have a problem with it, because I'm thrilled that yoga is popular now, because I think yoga, especially with its carefully trained teacher, I'm talking physically asanas now, has really merit, keeps my back good. I mean, like, keeps me healthy, and I love going to yoga classes. And I like the fact that here in Los Angeles there are yoga classes. I'm making a little bit of a joke on every corner. That's not true, but there are many classes, and many of the teachers are very well trained. My criticism, as I become an older man, is that I don't really want to take a yoga class from some 25-year-old who maybe has been studying for a year or two, because when I take that class, I find it kind of makes me anxious, because I'm thinking to myself, this person does not know this subject. This person has no idea what it's like to be my age doing yoga postures. I prefer to do a yoga with a teacher my age who has a training in, Ashtanga is great. I prefer Iyengar teachers on a personal level. I like the teachers who really have some training and realize how large the subject is. Those are the ones I am most comfortable with. And I feel also, on a selfish level, I feel I get the best results. I get the most for my money when I go to those teachers.
Yeah, exactly. And at LMU, one of our certificates is called the Prime of Life Training. And it's an intensive training for working with older populations. And some of the students may be young, but they need to be aware that people's knees stiffen as they get on in years. And that there are certain...
especially we in the classic rock crowd, right?
Exactly,
exactly right.
Exactly.
Sure.
So we're mindful of that particular need, and then of course there's the problem even amongst young people that they get carried away and they could become injured, and in that instance it's very important to be discerning about the choice of teacher, the choice of class.
But really, at your core, you are a philosopher.
I'm trained as a philosopher and theologian, yeah.
And so when people are doing, standing head to knee, whatever they're doing, you think, oh, this is good, but are you thinking this is not exactly what I want to be teaching, or you're thinking, okay, that's good, but I want to then bring you in so we do some additional work? What are you thinking in your heart?
Well, for many, the physical movement, the asanas of yoga are a gateway to asking other questions. It's not true of even the majority of people that go to yoga, but with the loosening of the body comes an expansion of the mind.
Excuse me, as a philosopher, you feel that that's a statement that you're happy to state?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that statement, would some people find that statement very controversial?
I don't think so. I think 30 years ago it would have been controversial, but the mind-body connection has been so well established by researchers that it's really pretty much of a given. And what we find is that the yoga teacher often, maybe the 25-year-old could be the exception, but the yoga teacher becomes a little bit like a person's hairdresser, that they'll want to share things or ask questions or just check in a way that they wouldn't feel comfortable or wouldn't even have the opportunity in other environments.
And that's a good thing, not a bad thing.
It's a good thing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
And that's why we've given all this time and attention to training people, because yoga, as you well know, is really a whole package in terms of an ethics, in terms of a way of viewing the world. And if a yoga teacher just merely has platitudes, then that will be less of service than if someone has sort of a thoughtful demeanor in their presentation.
Yes, I completely agree with that. Especially I sometimes will go to class and sometimes there'll be some delightful younger person with yoga platitudes, and unfortunately in me it kind of makes me kind of unhappy to be there. I'm thinking, why am I listening to this Rod McEwen stuff, Not to cast aspersions on Rod, but I'm thinking to myself, no, listen, let's work on my back first before you start throwing your stuff out, which is, so careless of you. I'm sure they mean well too, but I'm thinking, really, I don't really want to hear that, And I guess I have no right to, I have a right to feel that way on a personal level. Maybe the other students enjoy it, but sometimes some of the young ones say some stuff and I'm thinking, okay, they're repeating what their teacher has told them, which isn't bad, but I'm thinking, I really wish you'd just kind of, let's just work on, downward dog or whatever we're working on. It's like I really like the physical, and if I wish to study with a someone who has, in my opinion, training for me, then I will go to a someone who has more heft, more intellectual heft in my own mind.
Yeah. And one of the things that I've written about fairly extensively is the metaphors provided in the physical movement as a source for reconnection with the animal realm and with the elemental realm. And one of the organizations that I've been involved with is the Green Yoga Association, We were mentioning earlier the yoga mat, and the founder of the Green Yoga Association, Dr. Laura Cornell, had sent some of these yoga mats out to the lab and found that they were utterly laden with phthalates. And phthalates, as we know, are highly harmful substance. They're illegal in Europe. Yeah. So particularly the very shiny sticky mat is quite toxic. And we drew this fact to the attention of the general public, and we, in fact, through the Green Yoga Association, sold an organic, natural jute rubber mat, and really did very well with that little side business for a few years. And then the other companies,
because it was a quality product.
Because it was a quality product, because it was non-toxic. And then eventually all of the other companies, Mandukia and so on, also transformed their business model and got rid of the toxins.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Chappell, I get it correct this time?
Yes, you did.
This has been delightful. I have to have you back on the show once again. Please give us your contact information at Loyola Marymount.
Okay, I'm at Loyola Marymount University. And if you Google Chris Chappell, you will find easily, CHAPPLE, at lmu.edu. So, World Wide Web, lmu.edu.
It's been a great pleasure having you on the show. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. You're listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Broadcast Network. I'm your host, Josh Lane. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Thank you for tuning in to LA Talk Live, reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we're more than just talk. Stay tuned. Young Connection, your one-stop connection for all your graphic design and commercial printing needs. Young Connection is a full-service printing and media design company dedicated to providing the highest level of customer service and satisfaction. Young Connection provides swift response and rapid turnaround services for banners, brochures, business cards, letterheads, church bulletins, funeral programs, flyers, logo design, posters, and much, much more, all at an affordable price. Young Connection, the official printing company of LA Talk Live. Give them a call at 310-491-3336. That's 310-491-3336, or visit their website at www.youngconnection.com. That's www.youngconnection.com. Young Connection Printing and Media Services, proud sponsors of LA Talk Live, where it's more than just talk.
Yes, you've seen me on Oprah, Good Morning America, and The Today Show. And I'm inviting you to join me every Monday from 3 to 4 for my new show, Mastermind Live. Join us as we introduce you to the new thought leaders of the world who will inspire you, support you, and guide you to your next level. So don't forget to tune into Mastermind Live exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Elena, inviting you to join me every Wednesday at noon for Elena's Beauty Talk and more, exclusively on LA Talk Live. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Starlet Quarles, and I'm inviting you to join us every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for a new show right here on LA Talk Live, The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People. Join us as we discuss the topics that are relevant to today's generational leaders. So don't forget to tune in to The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People, every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hey y'all, I'm Shaquem Williams, and I'm the host of The Shock Factor here on LA Talk Live. We broadcast to the world every Friday at 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Live music, live performances, we're just live. Chef Momo, Life MC, Diana, and once again, your host, Shaquem Williams. So come join us every Friday here at LA Talk Live, the world-leading broadcasting internet radio station. The Shock Factor. The Shock Factor. Join us on The Shock Factor.
Hello world, how you living? This is D Brex, your host of the all-new rap project here on LA Talk Live. That's latalklive.com. Or you can find me on iTunes Radio in the R&B section. That's the Rap Project every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's Wednesdays at 7 p.m. West Coast time, so don't be late. On the Rap Project, I will be playing the very best of rap and hip-hop that goes beyond the ordinary. So connect with me, your host, D Brax, the rap connoisseur, on the Rap Project every Wednesday at 7, right here on latalklive.com, where we are more than just talk.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. Today I have the filmmakers Marie Todd and Rick Karatash, who have the movie that came out in 2011 that got very good reviews, Walk a Mile in My Pradas. Welcome, Marie and Rick. Welcome to Here's to Your Health.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Happy to have you on. My friend Anna Gabrielle set up this interview. So we are a wellness show, and you did a comedy about a straight guy becoming gay and a gay guy becoming straight. And you had Tom Arnold in it, among others.
Yes.
Tom Arnold likes to work in independent film and always does a nice job. And what's the name of the guy? Bruce Villanas? Is that how you pronounce his last name?
Bruce Vilanch, you mean?
Vilanch?
Yeah, he's in it as well. Yeah.
And he's actually very funny. And he used to, didn't he used to write the Emmys or something? Not the Emmys, but
the
Oscars.
Most of the jokes for the Oscars for like 15, 20 years.
Yeah, he's an extremely funny guy.
And he writes for, very funny,
and
very nice.
he's a gay guy.
Yes.
Is that correct? And he's happy that he's gay.
Yeah.
Now, years ago when he was a younger guy, I guess you couldn't do it because there was just too much backlash. And now I guess as an older man, he figured, no, it's not a problem anymore. And so it was kind of nice to see him in the film, and he has a great presence anyway, and he's just really a funny guy.
Yeah, and very nice. He was very pleasant to work with, and I've seen him quite a few times since, and he's just very nice. And he did a great, nice job.
He's hilarious.
Yeah, he's a very, very funny guy. So this was still somewhat of a risky concept, wasn't it? I mean, to make a comedy, people think, we're not going to go to that. Not going to go.
It was. In fact, I tried to get some bigger studios to do the film originally, and even then, and this was in 2008, 2009, and they wouldn't. We can't really. We have our gay movie, or and this is Brokeback Mountain. It just made a lot of money, but they still were anything gay. They still were kind of, hesitant.
They're just afraid that it's just too small a market, even if it's very funny. People think, we're not going to go.
Maybe, I don't know. And again, I think even in the last 2 or 3 years, it's changed a lot. Where maybe now they're doing a lot more, even with the TV shows and stuff. That it is a lot more. But even as few years as 4 or 5 years ago, there was still that resistance a little bit. But now with Modern Family and all those other TV shows, and it's a little less.
Yeah, things really are shifting. So is it just kind of, you have to just, if you have a subject you think is important, you just have to keep pitching it all the time, and eventually if the ideas are good, it's picked up. Is that it? You have to just agitate for your ideas?
Yeah, and I mean, we just went ahead and shot it ourselves. We raised the money and got some investors, and got, Tom Arnold, Dee Wallace, Mike Starr, Nathaniel Marston. My co-writer and co-producer was Tom Archdeacon on it. He plays the guy who's gay turned straight in the movie. And thanks to the Magic Christmas Angel for the people that haven't seen it yet, which I'm sure there's quite a few that haven't seen
I
it.
hit on Tom in the movie.
Yes, she's in the film as well. Yeah.
I guess I know you're in the movie.
Yeah. But,
and you got good press on it?
Overall pretty good. Yeah, it's a small independent film. We try to make it look a lot bigger than it was, and it's gotten some, there's all kinds of critics, but most people liked it, and it's I think we did a nice job for it.
And could I ask, because it wasn't quite clear to me, whose beautiful house was that you filmed in when they showed it? Was that Bruce's house?
That wasn't Bruce's real house. In the movie, it's supposed to be his house. It was actually Kirsten Lee's art. She played Sarah in the movie. That was her house.
Was in the Mount Olympus area?
Yeah.
Because I was just wondering. So, as an independent filmmaker, you try to maximize your dollars, right?
Yes.
You try to put as many dollars on screen as you can for as little money.
Right.
So, tell my audience, what are some of the tricks that we would know if we're going to make our own independent films?
Well, for Tom and I, the other co-producer, co-writer, we did a lot of the stuff ourselves that you would normally hire other people for. We did the casting, we did the location scouting, we did the, and we didn't spend money on anything that didn't show up on the screen. So, even somehow we usually have to have a trailer for Tom Arnold or someone like that. We somehow got away with but that can cost a lot of money that, can go into the film.
But Tom was pretty relaxed about everything.
Oh yeah, he was great. Yeah, and Dee Wallace was great. And they all, and we just worked really hard. And
you did have a very strong cast. So isn't it nice if you're a director, you cast your own people, you know exactly who you want for the part? Isn't that kind of a good thing?
I didn't direct it. Joy Sylvester did, but yeah, I wrote and produced it. But yeah, we tried to find people that were good and would be.
I think that's the joy of independent filmmaking. There's less politics involved, and people tell the stories they want to tell. They cast who they want to, as opposed to who they're pressured to cast, and it comes off as more of an honest story.
And independent movie making really enjoys mainstream status now, because people can really put together some. There's so many good independent movies. Little Miss Sunshine? That that everyone thought that's fantastic, and even The Hurt Locker to some extent, that was an independent film that people thought this is a nice, intelligent film.
Yeah.
So is it? So there's a lot of people now who have figured, okay, we're just going to bypass going to, Disney, and we're just going to make this film, and it seems to happen a lot.
Yeah, and also with the cameras and stuff that they have now, it makes it a lot easier for, people to shoot with their own cameras as well.
Because the quality of the cameras is so good and it's so light, is that it?
And they're not, you don't have to do the 35 millimeter a lot. They can, so it's less expensive in some ways. I don't know a lot about camera stuff, but that much. We use like the Red camera, and
What did you produce before you produced this movie?
Well, other than that, this is my first major feature film. I did one short film called Rotest that was in the Valley Film Festival, but mostly I did a little show called Skits and Giggles that Marie was in also, that we did like sketch comedy stuff, and that was just kind of a fun my own little show thing.
That was on TV?
Yeah, it was on like cable,
There was quite a series of all these funny sketches that we would do. He would write these sketches, and then he had a ensemble group of actors that he worked with, and the more we worked together, the sketches just evolved, and we were doing them like every other week for
They're on
a year
YouTube
or
and
so.
stuff also.
Yes,
but
it was fun.
And so now that you are both, so Marie, you're a professional actor. So
Yes.
now that things have become really, I'll use the word decentralized. Now that things are moving into internet, obviously this is internet television radio station, and we were recognized by the Screen Actors Guild in 2012, the first in a new category of media, internet radio television, called transmedia. So that is so things are going in this direction, because I guess the cost of production is so much reduced.
Well, I
the
think-
barrier to entry is reduced.
Well, it's very progressive, and you're reaching a global market, so
Yes.
people find things they're interested in, and the whole world connects better.
Right. And people, we probably have 3 guys in Nigeria watching this show right now. I'm just
Absolutely.
making a joke, but really, you do actually reach a worldwide audience. It's just, it is kind of impressive.
It is, and then with independent filmmaking, the story eventually finds its audience. Because you never know what people are going to be interested in, or what
Right.
is relevant in
That's right.
someone's life.
I've heard a lot of, when I watch interview shows, when people are on who are involved with media, they say, well, what we try to do really is we try to write a script that we think is funny or that we think is important, because we don't want to appeal to someone who's theoretical. We want to appeal to ourselves, and then we think there's a market for that. Is that your idea? Is that your thinking?
I kind of write. I like comedy, and I write more comedy and stuff, and I just write whatever the story is. And some writers, I do some acting also, and some people write for their own, apart for themselves.
Right.
I don't do that. I don't, I have a small role in the movie, but whatever the idea is, it doesn't. Yeah, I'm I don't usually try to make any political. Well, this one a little bit. I mean, just was kind of just, be more accepting of people.
Well, actually, this is to some extent, even though it's a comedy, it is political. In at one point, isn't one of the actors who is a physician he says to him, "Poof, you're now gay, and also you have no civil rights."
Right. Well, actually, that was Jason Stewart played that role, which I think he might have
Jason's
been on your show.
been on your show, yes.
And he played Dr. Feister. They kept mispronouncing it Fist, but yeah. And even again, when we shot the movie, Prop 8 was all that, so you weren't allowed, couples weren't allowed to get married at that point,
Right.
and then they reversed it after the movie came out. But yeah, so a lot has changed even since we shot it and it came out. But yeah, so there's a lot of.
It's interesting that because really it is a nice comedy, but there's actually politics involved with almost everything, and there certainly isn't politics involved with that type of movie. And some people might find it actually, people who are terribly conservative might be just very upset with that movie and think, no, we're not going to go see that movie.
Right. Well, yeah, that's so, and it is a very, it's a very calm, clean movie in a lot.
Right,
It's
right.
not. It really shouldn't offend anyone, I don't think. But if you're someone who's very conservative who, is going to be upset by two guys kissing, and that's because that's all really that. I mean, it doesn't really show any. But there are a few that yeah. I don't think Sarah Palin or Michelle Bachmann will enjoy it. But
No, they might not enjoy this movie. And what is there going to be? Is there going to be a sequel to this? Did it go over well? Did you get a good press from some fans?
I think it went. Yeah, it's on Netflix streaming also, so a lot of people have seen it on there. Yeah, it's on there now. And
May I ask how many people have seen it on Netflix?
I don't know how we tell, but I know they show how many people rate it. I think it was like 30,000. So if not everybody rates it, I think maybe 1 out of every 5 people rate. So I think at least 100,000 might have seen it. I don't know exactly.
So people are watching it on Netflix.
Yeah.
So you're getting good coverage.
Yeah, and it's available on DVD. It's and it did sell in Germany, Australia, and France.
And he took it to the festivals, and we went to the Fort Lauderdale Film Festival, which was a lot of fun.
You're from there, I think, right?
I am.
Yeah.
Fort Lauderdale's awesome.
Yeah,
that was a great festival.
It's nice.
Yeah, and it goes on for like a month or something. That festival.
So sometimes a movie can really have a long lifespan, especially in Netflix.
I think so. Yeah, it's not going to be on there for a while, and it's funny. I don't think it would be. There's no sequel, but I do want to make it into a musical, like a stage musical. I have an idea for that.
Nice idea.
So at some point. Yeah.
Wasn't there a movie a number of years ago that people really liked called The Boondock Saints? It was a kind of a crime genre that, for whatever reason, the director was fighting with the producers, and the producer just dumped it. And it never sold in the theaters at all. It just didn't go anywhere. But on rentals, it was the most popular movie because it was. I actually happened to see that one. Right. It was a great little piece of crime genre movie. It was just the director really nailed it. The actors were really good. I think it was the Weinstein. Was it Weinstein brothers?
Maybe
they for some reason they were fighting with the director, and they just figured out I was just going to dump this one. And it was much to their tremendous surprise, it was a monster hit. And so there was a lot of press coverage on it. The infighting, the background infighting.
Yeah.
Anyway, so talk about that. Sorry to carry on that, really, because obviously in film, there can be so much money involved. There can be potentially so much money to be made. I mean, it's an important topic. I mean, Americans are interested in popular culture, and this is popular culture.
Right.
Film is popular culture. Music, it's all popular culture. So, what are you going to do next?
Well, I have another script. I wrote like 10 scripts in the time it took to make that movie. But one is Charlie's Dream. We're going to shoot in Nashville, Tennessee, and John Schneider is going to be involved, and Stella Parton.
John Schneider, he was in
Dukes of Hazzard, Smallville. Yeah.
Oh, far out.
And so I'm going to be shooting that one hopefully later this year. A couple other scripts I wrote that hope. And I'm writing a book called How to Tell the Children About the Other Birds and Bees, and it's a guide on speaking with to kids about gay and lesbian and transgender relatives. So I've been working on that for a couple of years. It's almost done. So it's kind of, yeah.
And what's the premise of the John Schneider movie? He used to be a punk rocker. He's pretending to be a cowboy.
No.
kind of a crossover there,
No,
he really likes the Ramones, but
no. Well, it's funny. John Schneider had some country hits in the '90s. I don't know if
he did. I remember.
Yeah. But the film is about a guy in his 40s. He's separated from his wife, hates his job, finds out he has a terminal illness. So it's a comedy. No, it's
a comedy. Right,
it's more of a drama. But he's been misdiagnosed. But he'd always want to.
Oh my goodness.
The character would always want to be a country singer. Never tried it, and he figures he has a few years left. This is what I always wanted to do. I'm going to try it. So it's kind of about going after your dream long after most people would. And it's kind of what the basis of it is, kind of. Yeah.
Well, he seems like a good choice for that.
Oh, he's perfect. He was perfect for the. Yeah, we sent it to the manager that loved the script and said, "This is perfect for John. Did you write it for him?" I'm like, "No, but we know he's he's just really right because
So is this going to be another like the Walk a Mile My Prod? Is it's going to be kind of I'll use the word, it's going to be low budget. Is that it? Is that what you feel is the market?
Well, it'll be a bigger budget than this one was. And there is a channel that's looking at it and may actually want to do it. So if they do it, it'll be quite a bit bigger budget, and they would.
You mean it'd be a TV movie?
Yeah. I can't say who yet,
okay.
But
Is the TV movie idea as big as it always has been?
I think so.
Because you're in the biz, I'm just asking. Because I remember, didn't Melissa Gilbert did a movie years ago in the 70s that was like the #1 movie of the year? It was a TV movie. I forget who was the Goldie Hawn's boyfriend. He was in it, and Melissa Gilbert, and that was like
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell was in like the mid 80s. It was the biggest movie of the year. It was a TV movie.
Well, I think there was a point in time where there were so many movie of the weeks.
Yeah.
It was in that format, and all the networks had them. And I think now with cable, a lot of the cable, Lifetime and Hallmark, much less the bigger ones, HBO and Showtime, they've made these spectacular films that are,
they really have,
in the cable market. So in a sense, they're TV movies, but everything seems to be done in, you think you're looking at a feature.
Right.
It's done in a feature style.
And that's because there are so many channels now. Yeah. There's so much need for content. There's just an amazingly greater need for content.
Yeah.
Marie, what are you working on?
Well, the past couple weeks I've worked on 3 projects with New York Film Academy directors, the NYFA, and they were spectacular. So they have their projects that they have written and directed. One's called Memories, and I play Dr. Christine White, a psychologist. And another one's called The Confrontation, play a character, Paula, and then there's another one called They Hear My Mind. So 3 different directors. I don't want to give away their storylines and things, and they will screen at Warner Brothers in February. So it's nice staying on cutting edge.
They can be feature movies.
No, they're small films. They're small films because they're attending the New York Film Academy, so they're making their own individual projects where they write and direct, and then they cross-train. So the people that were doing the cinematography in one project, they're maybe running sound or writing and directing in another. So it's my whole thing is meeting and staying in tune with people that are cutting edge, and you never know who the next somebody's going to be.
No, that seems completely so. And when you first came to Hollywood, you hit in a Steven Seagal movie, didn't you?
Yes, I was in a movie called Out for Justice, and it was great fun, all this high action and
You ran around with
crime.
a gun? What did you do?
Yes. No, I was, gum-chewing mafia bimbo.
Oh, I see.
Sammy's girlfriend, yes. It was great fun. I enjoyed it. Plus, he made some really legendary movies in that era.
Seagal.
Era, yes.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Above the Law and Out for Justice. It was great. It was good fun.
And so you've managed to work throughout your years, some years bigger than others as far as some big movies.
Yes, and really enjoyed it. And I did some sketch comedy work on Jimmy Kimmel late night. So the late night was fun. And
were you part of his little review?
No, he ran different sketches at different times. One of them was the perfect Mother's Day gift, and it ended up being at the time when all the oil was spilling into the Gulf, so they had this oily otter registry. Stuff's a little offbeat, and it's not for everybody, but it's late night, but it was great fun.
That sounds good.
Yeah, so it was good fun, and I go to a bunch of workshops to stay on top of, keep fine-tuned. And right now I'm in a workshop with an independent film director, Jeremy O'Keefe, and his feature is being released. It's an independent film on Friday, and it's called Somewhere Slow. So for the independent film audience,
where's that going to be released?
Something to check out.
Where will that be released?
It will be at the Arena Cinema in Hollywood on Las Palmas.
Is there going to be kind of an event that night? Is there kind of an event?
Well,
giving away any food? What are they doing?
I don't know. I believe it'll be screening there for a week, and then in 8 other cities, and will also be available on iTunes. So a shout out for independent film.
What's the name of that film again?
Somewhere Slow.
What's your part?
I'm not in it.
Oh.
I'm not in it. I take class with the director.
Right. And what's the director's name again?
His name is Jeremy O'Keefe, and he's the writer-director.
Okay.
Yeah, so up and coming indie film.
And is LA still is LA really the main place for film now? Is LA the place?
Well, a lot of places. It depends if you want the tax incentives that other states give for the films.
Well, that's important. Tax incentives are important.
It is, but I think so many of the films and ideas come from here, and whether they go shoot part of the film in some other place, it's it's all about saving money and trying to be on budget, but I still think so many people all over the place are writing and directing. Writing and directing seems to be it. That's why I'm happy to be able to study with and participate in projects, no matter how large or small, with people that are writing and directing. I think that's key for actors, is you align yourself with these people.
Sure. No, that does seem important.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a big question, is Hollywood really the center of the world as far as film production?
Well, probably for the bigger films, yes. I mean, more independent, I think, have to go other places sometimes. I don't know.
I think we're the center that everyone looks to, and a lot of business deals seem to come through here, plus all the major awards happen in Hollywood. So I think it will always be prestigious wherever the location shooting goes on, or even filmmakers from all over the world, whatever they're shooting, it's always a special thing to bring their projects to Hollywood and have them screened, and also for the prestigious film nominations. Everybody wants to be nominated for something.
Oh, for sure. Has this film been translated into other languages?
Well, it went into Germany, so it wasn't. It had what do you call it? The
subtitles.
Subtitles in Germany, and it showed in some German theaters apparently, I guess. But
did it do okay in Germany?
I don't. We don't even know. It was a flat buyout that our distributor got, and
what does that mean, a buyout?
Like you just get a certain fee for it, and they can do whatever they want with it. So
I see.
They could put it in 1 million theaters, and whatever. You don't get paid every time it's run or whatever. But I hope it did okay, and most of the other countries it did, France and Australia, was I think just DVDs and iTunes and stuff. But in Germany, I actually had a friend who was texting me or posted me something. He was in Germany, he saw a poster for my movie. I didn't even know they were showing it in theaters there. So, but I think that was the only German. So France, I guess, did the same thing with subtitles. In fact, Germany did their own little trailer for it with the subtitles, and they did a whole new cover of the movie. And they actually have me on the cover on one of the pictures, which I don't even have myself on our picture. And they had a picture of a dog. We don't even have a dog in the movie. So that dog has a good publicist but I guess they thought the German audiences we'd be more apt to go if there was a dog.
Everybody loves a dog.
Yeah, maybe it was a gay dog. I don't know if that's what they put on it.
It was a very cheerful dog, and they decided to put that right on there. Well, that does happen in movies, don't they? Kind of, or even I guess in music too. They'll change a name, they'll change something, and they'll pitch it, or it could be even a bigger hit.
Right. Yeah. Sure. They do that.
Now, let me ask you kind of an emotional question. Because there's so much money involved in making a film, not to mention all your time, but does it really kind of really make you crazy? I mean, because you're not dealing with $10 or $15, you're dealing with lots of money, so you can really think, oh my God, you can kind of shook up.
Well, we weren't. I mean, they make movies for like 20, 30, 40, 50 million. So this was like not even.
No, that's
less
true.
than 2 million. Yeah.
That's
so,
true. But still, that's a lot of money. Yeah. It's still a lot of money.
And yeah, I mean, it's and you have people, the accountant and that's a whole other story on that. But we weren't dealing with half as much money as most people would for a film, and which is why we had to do a lot of the stuff. It
was a shoestring.
It really was. It was a shoestring budget, but it looks much higher than it was. But
that's because of the skill. shows that it's. I mean, as you said, you put all the money right on screen, so right. Me, the audience, I can see it all right on screen.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, my future films will be, I'm looking to do bigger budgets with those. One I'm going to shoot in Nashville, like I said, and then another one here in L.A., and I want to shoot one in Brooklyn that I wrote because it takes place there. It's more fun to shoot where it actually takes place. But yeah, so way of music.
That's it. So our theme music here for Here's to Your Health. Well, how can we contact you?
I have a website, www.rickkawartash.com, the Pradas is on Facebook. Welcome on my Pradas fan page. I guess they could also get through. My legal name is Sudi, so either Sudi or Rick Kawartash. Google me.
Okay, we'll happy to do that. And Marie, where can we contact you?
Facebook.
That sounds good. Marie Todd, Facebook?
Marie Todd, Facebook.
That sounds good. Thanks for being a guest today on Here's to Your Health.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
You're listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Broadcast Network. I'm your host, Josh Lane. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hey everybody, it's your man Sabir Bey back on your airwaves, inviting you to join us every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Sabir Bey Show, discussing history, law, and hip-hop. Every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the Sabir Bey Show, exclusively on LATalkLive.com. You also can catch us on iTunes Radio and R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch us and listen directly at LATalkLive.com. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
What's up? It's your girls, Forbidden Gems, inviting you to join us every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. sharp for the hottest, livest talk show, Forbidden Tuesdays.
Join us as we expose the new generation of love and dating, all the craziest entertainment news, and the wildest on-air interviews with the hottest artists.
So don't forget to tune in to Forbidden Tuesdays every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. exclusively on LATalkLive.com and the LA Talk Live Broadcast Network.
You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch and listen directly at LATalkLive.com. Reality radio for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is
LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
You ready?
We did it!
Finally.
Hey, shout us out. What's the count? I'm your host, Ferran Dozier. I'm inviting you to join me on WDC Radio every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time as we discuss community topics around health, sports, and entertainment. So don't forget to shout us out. What's the count? On WDC Radio, only on LATalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we're more than just talk. What's the count?
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Broadcast Network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. My guest is Steve Factor, who is a raw foods chef, who is a raw foods enthusiast, and who is appearing this weekend up in Westlake Village at the Raw Foods Expo. Steve Factor, welcome to Here's to Your Health.
Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you on the show. And now, for my listeners, what's a raw food chef?
A raw food chef is somebody who makes food without cooking it. And so basically we take fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, superfoods and sprouts, and combine them together into raw amazingness.
And you are a raw food chef because you feel this has the best taste, it's the best for you health-wise. What's your thinking?
Well, sure. I come from hamburgers and hot dogs and pizzas and burritos and all you can eat, Indian buffets, sushi. I mean, and I was never satisfied, always looking for more. If we were out to dinner together, I would be looking at your plate to say, maybe his stuff is better than mine. Maybe I didn't get enough. And it was always from a place of lack, not enough. And I could get very full, but never satisfied.
I see.
And so when I learned about raw foods, I was on the basketball court and my game was starting to go down. I would make a move here, a move there, and my body said, nope. And somebody told me about raw foods. He said, you'll do better on your basketball and you'll look better. So I got into raw food for vanity and ego.
Well, vanity and ego, that also can be good too, kind of keep you out of trouble. So how long ago was this?
This was about 6 years ago. And as much as I experienced it and loved it, I had some miraculous things happen. When that happened, I knew it was the right thing to do, but yet I'm so addicted to all that other stuff. So for 3 years or so, I did a back and forth dance between raw and back to the other stuff. And 3 years ago, I made the commitment to go fully raw. And my life, I got into the chef deal. I got into the holistic health deal. I am a detoxification specialist as well. So now it's my entire life. I come from a mortgage background, and before that I was a nightclub DJ for 15 years.
I see.
And now I'm all into raw and living this raw life, and this weekend is one of the biggest events, or if not the biggest raw event of the year. And it happened last year in Sedona where I got to win Raw Coach of the Year. That was my first honor in this raw world. And now I'm up for Raw Educator of the Year. And I teach at Whole Foods on a regular basis. Tonight I'll be at 3rd and Fairfax at 6 o'clock. Tomorrow night I'll be at Oxnard Whole Foods. Last week I was in Venice. Woodland Hills is going to have me, Porter Ranch. And so I get around. I'm becoming the raw food guy for Whole Foods, it seems, and I'm going in various. And they dubbed me the Pure Energy Chef.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
So when you went back and forth, eating raw to eating back to conventional, I use the word conventional stuff. What happened? You thought, I feel crappy eating this stuff. Is that it? I thought, I'm not eating that anymore. And then you would eat it again 6 months later or something. What happened with you?
Yeah, I could be raw for a day, 10 days, 30 days, even a couple months, but I found myself going back.
Why? Just figured just what the heck?
It just like maybe it'll be different this time. It feels like a total
maybe it'll be different, right?
Addiction to me. It's like it's pulling me. It's like, oh, that's those hamburgers or that pizza I haven't had in a while. And then I have it and it's like, oh yeah.
Did it make you sick? Did it give you a headache? Did it do anything different to you?
Yeah, it made me feel it. The cleaner I got in detoxification, the more I would feel the other stuff that the body was not meant to have.
So you felt diminished?
Yeah.
What were your symptoms? What kind of symptoms did you get?
Well, I would get tired. Tired is the most thing. My company is Pure Energy Factor, and people know me as Pure Energy Steve and Pure Energy. And I teach pure energy and that we all have it. And so it's the opposite of pure energy. When I eat cooked food, it's kind of like kryptonite to me. It's kind of like, especially if I get into like carbohydrates or bread, it's just like boom. And I haven't even tried meat or milk or any animal products in a few years, so I wouldn't even know how that feels.
Right. Might be a little too heavy. When you were a DJ for 15 years,
yes.
In retrospect, was the lifestyle somewhat wild compared to what you're doing now?
It was definitely wild, but I was one of the guys who wasn't wild. I had my time with drugs and this and that, but comparatively speaking, I was pretty tame, and I used to DJ with a bunch of waters. I remember I'd have all these waters lined up, and one guy came up to me, and we were rocking the house, and he was like, dude, what are you on? And I was like, these waters, that's it. And I was very proud of that. I was just on water. Yes.
Now, but when you're in that environment, it's a nightclub scene, so really it's like, it's a party environment. That's why people are there. They're there to party. So you've never been a major abuser. You've always been kind of wellness oriented. Even before you ate carefully, you kind of were good with yourself?
Somewhat. I would go back and forth. I came up with a really good upbringing where taught morals and values and things like that. But I still went off a little bit here and there. I wasn't like hardcore. But I did have a lot of times where I was totally clean in DJing, like the water episode, and where people would trip off of that. And I got to know that all the amazingness that I wanted to feel through drugs or women or nightlife or all of that can be found deep within. And when I start to eat the raw foods, the natural foods in the natural state, I'm performing an act of self-love on me every time I do that. And so I start to build
That's
this.
a nice way to look at it, yeah, actually.
Yeah, I build this thing called love, and I start to love me so much, and then I love you, and I love him, and this is just like a whole perception change. And I didn't get into it to change my perceptions. I just wanted to be better on the court and look better.
Right.
And that was total, but
so health and beauty go together, in your opinion?
Yeah. For sure. Health is the new sexy, for sure. That's
very interesting. That might even be true, actually.
Yeah. And so is transparency. And to me, that's the new sexy. I remember putting that post on Facebook. I got like a bunch of likes, just that one sentence.
That's a very nice phrase.
Yeah.
So you're saying transparency in many things, but certainly in the quality of our food.
Well, that and just in talking with people and being real. We walk around this world with our facade and the face we want people to see, and then there's the real us.
Right.
And so when I got to love the real me inside, I wasn't afraid to show it, and then I can invite people in to show me theirs. I seem to be somebody who could disarm people because I love people so much, and I'm not judging them, and that I know what judgment's like. I know judgment very well, and I used to be very judgmental, and it's so good to be free of that.
So what authors or what thinkers did you work with who kind of moved you in a different direction?
Sure. Well, my mentor is Dr. Robert Morse in Florida. And so I love him. He'll be at the Raw Living Expo too. And, there's people like me at the Raw Living Expo, and there's hundreds of them this weekend. People know me for my energy and vibrancy and things, and I can't wait to be around so many people that have done this so much longer than me and know so much more than me. And I get to learn from them. And there's a couple heroes. I want to meet for the first time Victoria Butenko, who is known as the Green Smoothie Queen and wrote Green for Life and brought green smoothies to public awareness.
And Gabriel Cousins, the MD, will be there.
Yeah.
And Gabriel's been a public figure since, I don't know, maybe the mid-'70s.
Yes. When I saw him last year for the first time, I never saw him, and I just saw him talking to somebody. And I walked by. He didn't look at me. He was in the conversation, but I just walked by him, and I feel it right now. These chills on my spine and neck. He's just like a light.
Yeah, he's one of the national spokespersons for wellness. And
Yes.
he's a raw food. That's what he sees the universe, and he's certainly one of the national spokespeople, and has a very nice long track record. So it's nice to have a nice long track record because people can test the quality of your ideas.
Yeah.
Because raw foods now enjoys a certain status
Yes.
that it did not enjoy in the 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s. People thought, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever, And now people think, okay, they're paying attention because they see that this is a healing modality, one approach that has merit for some people.
Yes.
And it's easy to implement, and it's inexpensive, and it's ecologically sound. It does a lot of things for a lot of people.
Yeah. For me, it made me really happy. I mean, I'm eating sun food that comes from the sun, and it just lights me up. And so I'm somebody who can go to bed at 11 or 12, even 1 in the morning, and I'm up at dawn, like ready, with no alarm clock, amped for life. And I love this so much. It just the whole world has changed, but it really hasn't. My perception of it has changed.
Right.
And so to feel that, it's one thing for the listeners now are hearing me, or they'll watch a YouTube video or read a book, and it is nothing compared to their own experience. When they start to feel it themselves, they're going to be like, oh, that's what the guy was talking about, like walking down steps and you feel like a sizzle through your whole body and every cell feels so amazing, and you're just walking down steps. Who cares, right? So it's things like that, or looking at a sunset and it's like, oh my God, that sunset is so amazing. Where 5 years ago I would have been like, yes, just a sunset. Who cares about a sunset?
Right.
What do I have to do next on my list? Instead of enjoying the moment. And a quick story, after I went raw for 3 days, this was miraculous to me, is I felt like amazing. It was like, oh my God, the lights are on. I would just look at people and I'd be like, I love you. And like, oh my God, this is like here where everything is like this. I moved this over here, this. I went to the basketball court and no one was there. I was shooting free throws. And I remember making 83 in a row.
Oh, righty.
So it was like Avatar. It was like, doom, doom. And I'd take a shot, boom. And it was like, boom. And that was like, and then the ball, every time it bounced on the floor, it'd echo. And all it was I was more present.
You're more present.
And I never experienced that kind of presence before.
And the idea of being present is an idea that most of us realize it's a good thing.
It's a
good thing to be present, right? I don't think anyone would really be mad at us for saying that it's a good thing to be present.
Yes.
So let me do a practical question for you.
Yes.
What do you eat and what do you advocate that my listeners eat?
Great. So I advocate a variety of raw foods. People might think raw food is so small, but there's a wide variety, and there's a lot of raw foodists out there, and vegans and vegetarians, but even raw foodists that are not healthy.
Right.
And they could fall short from that health.
Because they're drinking soda.
They could be doing
eating
soda.
chocolate cake or something.
Yeah,
Right.
but even raw vegans, they could be eating a lot of fats and a lot of gourmet raw and a lot of dehydrated. And true raw is really picking an apple off a tree or something out of the ground. And then the less we could process it, the better.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so in their natural
That's a
state,
hardcore philosophy I remember from my youth.
yes, but now we could make it fun where the only processing I do is in a blender or a juicer or I do a little dehydrating and stuff like that, but I keep more of the fruits and the vegetables. So basically through a day I'll be very juicy, where it's like green juice, very liquid, and fruity up until noontime. And then
So what'd you have for breakfast today?
So breakfast today I had a green juice that consisted of cucumber, celery, cilantro, the 3 C's, and lemon, a Meyer lemon.
Are you a big fan of cilantro?
I love cilantro.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it's really good for detoxing things like heavy metals. So for those people who listen to that kind of music in the 80s. So that's a joke I say a lot of times at Whole Foods when people haven't heard me before.
Went over with me. I like that joke. Okay, thank you.
So I had that, and then I had a green smoothie where I had bananas and beet tops and some more celery. Now, the fiber was in this. It's a smoothie now. At first, that was a juice, no fiber. And then later today, before I do my Whole Foods talk at 3rd and Fairfax, which I will have Wade...
That's a busy store, isn't it?
It's busy.
Oh, my God.
And tonight, my special guest is Wade Lightheart. Wade Lightheart is a muscle man, totally yoked, raw vegan.
Huh.
So there's more and more that are representing this. We think of vegan, or at least I did coming into this, that vegan is like, oh, these little skinny guys who are like all frail and and save the animals.
There are some people like that who are vegan. Yes, there are some.
And there's a lot of times where I don't even want to be called a vegan for what vegans are known for.
Uh-huh.
But I want to bring a whole nother thing to veganism and raw and make it really fun. And one of the things that I talk about that not everybody will disagree, but this is where I come from, is that sugar, salt, and fat, which are the 3 things that get us into most troubles,
yes,
are all absolutely great for us if they're in the right form. So we want to get sugars from fruit. We want to get salts from green leafy vegetables and sea vegetables. And we want to get fats from avocados, nuts and seeds, and coconuts and things like that, the real stuff, not the fake. So when we start to eat the real sugar, salt, and fat...
What's fake? What's fake fat, in your opinion?
Fake fat would be processed in some way, cooked, and it's not in its natural form. So to me, it's either natural or it's fake.
That seems fair. Fine.
Yeah.
It's fair.
It's either comes from nature or man really messed with it, and now it's totally denatured, and the chemistry has totally changed, and it's not going to do to your body what it was meant to do.
Now, as a guy who's healthy,
yes,
and active, do you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner? What kind of regime do you have?
Sure. So I typically, like I said, it's kind of a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When I'm on my game best, my dinner is at about 3:30 or 4 o'clock. Specifically, I do it at 3:33 because I'm a numbers synchronicity guy. And
okay, I don't know what that is, but okay.
We could get into a whole conversation about 11:11 or 3:33 or all these synchronicities that come up, which I have found the more raw I become. It's amazing how this parking spot opens up for me, or this person calls and I was thinking about him and I haven't thought of him in 3 months, or when it just like it's like a joke almost. I'm looking around at the hidden camera. It's like, is someone, and synchronicity after synchronicity. So anyway,
well, but when that happens, that sounds like it would be fun.
Yeah, it feels like I'm in the flow, and it tickles a little. It's like, oh, look, I just looked at the clock, and I haven't looked at the clock in so long, and it's 2:22 or something. Stuff like that happens quite often. And so what I tell people all the time as a holistic health coach, people come to me and they want more energy. And I love to tell this to people, that whatever diet you're on or exercise program, you're not going to get any more energy than you already have. The energy that we seek is pulsating through us more than any of us could even know. Einstein said we're all vibration, all energy. So what people like me do is help remove obstructions that block that energy.
Okay.
And so I'm not a miracle worker. I don't heal people. No food heals people. I don't believe in all of that, or no doctor heals people. The body is the miracle. And if we could help people and guide them in the right direction to get more closer to nature, then healing is inevitable on some level, depending on how far they've gone down the track.
Well, that seems very fair. It seems like a very fair statement for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Raw Living Expo that's coming up, I mean, a lot of times people need to get around people like me who are talking about raw if they want to be raw or want to try raw, because there's so many people that are crazy or think we're crazy. Like, you're extreme, how natural foods in their natural state can ever be considered extreme seems extreme.
People who don't know the subject might say that to you. And of course, anyone who said that to you really just obviously doesn't know the subject.
Right.
I mean, if they're busy drinking soda and eating, white bread, well then, why should they criticize you for eating apples or eating sunflower seeds? That would seem that they would just be completely in error.
Yeah. And people do that. So why the Raw Living Expo is such an awesome thing to go to, and it's life-changing for a lot of people, is that there's going to be a lot of people like me. They're going to hear the stories. Right. People might not identify with me, but they're going to identify with someone over there or there. And we get to be around it, because the more we're around it, the more we feel like, okay, this is not so crazy.
Right.
Because what I have found is that people get into the raw world, and they're interested. They'll hear me or somebody, and they'll get all excited, and they'll try it, and they'll feel great. And then they start to not feel so good. And what's happening is they're going through detoxification. But everyone and their mother is telling them, get off of that right now. Where's your protein? You got to get this. You got to get that. And then what happens is the person inevitably goes back, and I did too, to the other stuff. And then we feel better. And then we say, see? And we could have a big see party. See, I told you so. See, I told you so. And all that happened is that eating those foods slowed down or stopped the detoxification process.
All right.
And so when people go through the detoxification process and come out the other side, they feel like they could wear a cape, like they're superhuman. Or I felt like that in a lot of people I've hung around.
That's very interesting. We're speaking to Stephen Factor, who is a raw foods teacher, educator, and you're listening to us today on the Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. And Steve's going to be appearing this weekend at the Raw Living Expo in Thousand Oaks. Let me just get the name of, what's the name? Oh, yes, here it is. January 31st to February 2nd, 2014, Thousand Oaks, California, at the Hyatt Westlake Plaza. Steve, when are you on?
I perform.
You're giving a presentation, yeah.
Okay, so I'm on, I believe, 11:30 in the morning. The whole schedule is online, 11:30 on Saturday morning.
So it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
It is. Okay. Friday night they have their black tie dinner, the gala, Best of Raw Awards, which is great. And then they have 60 vendors that are going to be there, and lots of different workshops, over 20 chefs from different culinary experiences, and dancing. I mean, it's like a full-on energetic party. And you get into these conventions, and I've been to some conventions with mortgages or this or that, but when you get into a raw food convention, I put a post on Facebook the other day saying that what the Westlake Hyatt does not know is that they could save on electricity this weekend because the whole town of Thousand Oaks is going to be lit up.
That's very cute.
Yeah.
You know, something that I do find kind of amusing is that while people are always going to be annoyed at raw foods, obviously, you know, people have their own, you know, they're doing Italian cooking or French cooking or they're making pasta. They don't want you guys eating apples and sunflower seeds. But it does seem that the raw food desserts have become very popular.
Oh, yeah.
And in a nice way, too, they have much better ingredients. So people can eat something that is really a delicacy, you know, and it doesn't do them in.
Yes.
They don't make themselves sick because it looks fantastic, it has great ingredients, it tastes fantastic, and it was kind of a fun thing to eat, and it's not like eating, you know, terrible stuff. And so I see the raw food stuff has hit very big in that category.
Totally. And Sun Cafe is one of my favorite restaurants where I speak at, and it's near my house in
Where's Sun Cafe?
Studio City. Mm-hmm. And they have, I mean, their whole food menu is awesome, but their cakes, their cheesecakes, chocolate chip cookie dough pie, and their chocolate almond butter and their key lime. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Do you agree with me in that observation?
Yes.
That the desserts have like...
Yeah.
No one fights about the desserts. They think, this looks great, we want some of that, you know, we can eat that.
Yeah, very good observation, and I never even heard it in words like that. But yes, that is very true.
So what is the main criticism that people throw at you as a raw food personage?
Well, I guess the criticism is that I'm not getting all my nutrition. And I've been to the doctor 2 years in a row. My blood tests are off the charts like a 20-year-old.
Okay, so you work with the physician and blood tests have said, no, you're good.
You're so good. Like, I mean, more than good.
Okay, blood tests are good too, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of myths out there that people like me are trying to dispel and really trying to say here. And I want to do it in a way that's very friendly, not like, hey, you got to be like us, or if you're not in our camp, you're out of it. Or there's a lot of that in the raw world.
There is some of that, yes.
And I want to be the bridge. I want to be the bridge from In-N-Out Burger to because I know that because I used to go to In-N-Out Burger, get 2 double doubles animal style, bring the Reese's peanut butter cup so I could crumble it in the vanilla shake because the vanilla shake by itself was not enough for me. So you like
sugar, okay? I get it.
But now I'm getting fruit sugar and I'm satisfied. Right. That's the whole thing, and I feel the same after the meal as I do before. Which is after the meal, it was always Thanksgiving dinner for me. Every meal is like, I did it again. And it catches up as we get older.
It can catch up. May I ask you a question?
Yes.
Have you had any impact at all on your parents?
Okay, well, my dad is deceased when I was young, but my mom, I don't think so. She might do a little here. She does ask questions now a little bit more, but she eats cooked pretty much. But I have had influence on a lot of friends and a lot of people.
People your own age group, is that it?
And around. I'm pretty big on Facebook. Facebook is where people can catch me more than anything. And so I've gotten a lot of people to say, Steve, I'm raw now and I love it, or I'm vegan, or this or that. And I tell people, don't take anything away from what you're eating. Keep it all in. Just start to add the good stuff, and the other stuff goes away in its own time.
Yeah, I think that's completely accurate. Yeah. By the way, I asked you a little bit of a loaded question because it is very difficult, I found, for any of us to influence our parents when it comes to wellness ideas.
Totally.
It's very tough to influence your parents.
They'll listen to someone else way before you.
I find that to be true. I find that to be true.
For sure.
Steve, this has been a lovely interview. Yes. How can we contact you?
www.pureenergyfactor.com. And pretty soon, rockandjuice.com, which is that's a whole nother show. But a juice bar is coming in Burbank, 2,000 square feet, right next to Bob's Big Boy. Glass bottles, spring water for the smoothies and the tonics. Holistic health coaches on site. Everybody who knows there will be a detoxification specialist or holistic health coach. And we have health coaches in the back. And that's opening 3/1, March 1st, and there's still investment opportunity, though we have raised most of the money for it.
That sounds fantastic.
So good.
That's fantastic. We've been chatting with Steve Factor, and you can catch Steve Factor this weekend at the Raw Living Expo, January 31st to February 2nd in Thousand Oaks, California at the Hyatt Westlake Plaza. You've been listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Broadcast Network. Stay tuned.
Thank you for tuning in to LA Talk Live, reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we're more than just talk. Stay tuned.